2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome into the Hick At Nite Show. Here's Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on into Hick At Nite. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. A very happy Sunday to you. Thank you for making us a part of your weekend as the weekend does wind down. And whew, boy, was it a busy one. Some good baseball action, some really good playoff basketball action, and of course, a loaded weekend chock full of NFL draft stuff. And obviously, right, the biggest story of the entire weekend, the biggest story of the NFL draft was the slide of Shedeur Sanders. So let's talk about it right here to start the show. Because I want to talk about why, in my opinion, Shedeur slid from what was projected to be possibly going number 3 to going all the way to the 5th round. For me to look at this entire situation, I think the explanation as to why Shedeur Sanders slid down to the 5th round is very simple. It's the fact that no NFL team wants a quarterback that's all about himself, that doesn't possess an elite skill set. It's as simple as that. When you look at Colorado the last 2 years, it was the Deion and Shedeur show. So let me ask you this. What NFL team wants all of that coming to their roster when the quarterback is a backup guy who most likely, to me, projects to be the next Geno Smith? That's why I don't have no problem with NFL teams saying thanks, but no thanks. We're going to pass on Shedeur. We don't want the noise. I think there is legitimate justification for every NFL team up until round 5 in the Browns did of saying, we're good. I mean, think about it this way, fellas. And ladies as well. But we'll use fellas here as an example. Imagine you are out at a bar and you see someone, well, she's pretty attractive. She's pretty cute. You're single. She looks over there. Looks-wise, she's about a 6. Right, fellas, as we know, you could do way worse than a 6. Sure, you could do better, but it's difficult. So, okay, you look over, girl on the other side's giving you some eyes. She's about a 6. You say, okay, let me go talk to her. You go talk to her. And while she's a 6 looks-wise, she carries herself like she's a 10. Stuck up, thinks she's better than you, thinks her you-know-what don't stink. What's going to happen? You may think she's cute, but not cute enough to keep on going. That attitude, that personality is going to knock her down a few pegs, and what's going to happen after probably 10 or 15 minutes is you're going to say, I've had enough. I'm going to go to try to find somebody else. I can't do it. She's cute, but the attitude's knocked her down to where it's not worth it. That is essentially the real-life version of what we saw with Shedeur Sanders. We're on a quarterback scale of 1 to 10. I would say Shedeur's about a 5.5. Again, I think he projects to be an average quarterback. I don't think the guy sucks, but I think he will be, again, Geno Smith 2.0 here, where, sure, you could do a lot better than Geno. You also can do a lot worse. But while Shedeur is about a 5.5 on the 1 to 10 quarterback scale, he carries himself like he's Patrick Mahomes. He thinks, you know what, don't stink. He thinks he's the greatest thing on this earth. And I would say that knocks him down. So now all of a sudden you have a guy whose talent is about 5.5, an attitude that's absolutely horrible, and it's about, averages out to like a 3.5 out of 10 on the quarterback scale. And what team is using a high pick to draft a guy who's a 3.5? Nobody. That's why you went day 1 without getting drafted, day 2 without getting drafted. I don't blame teams. When you look at the entire picture and the entire experience you're getting with Shedeur Sanders, I don't blame teams for saying, we don't want to sign up for that. We don't think his talent is worth the headaches and the drama and the attention that comes along with him. The NFL told Shedeur Sanders this weekend, you are not good enough to possess the attitude and carry yourself the way you do. And I think the NFL's right. I know it's always tough, and I hate draft season. The lead into the draft, I should say, from the combine to what we just saw this past weekend, because so much that comes out in the media, so many reports we hear are from team sources, from anonymous sources, and you don't know what is true and what is false, right? It's lying season for a reason. So it's really hard to differentiate truth from fiction, differentiate who's actually just, being legit in terms of what they're experiencing versus who's spreading lies to help either get a prospect knocked down so where they can draft him, or maybe try to trick a team into drafting a player that is not worth it. It's very difficult to decipher truth from fiction during draft season. But now that we have the benefit of hindsight, now that we have seen how the draft has gone, we can now look back on reports and start to differentiate what is actually true and what is false. And so I want to play this from Todd McShay on his show, The McShay Show, who just before the draft, just before round 1 on his podcast, explained why there is no shot the New York Giants at pick number 3 were interested in Shedeur Sanders. Take a listen.
Shedeur's not in play at 3. Shedeur's not in play with the New York Giants, as far as I'm told. Shedeur didn't have a great interview with Brian Daboll in a private visit. An install package came in. Preparation wasn't there for it. Got called out on it. Didn't like that. Brian didn't appreciate him not liking it. I told you there were 2 personnel people that I spoke to who were in the room during interviews, which means they're key parts of the organization. Let's leave it at that. 2 teams drafting in the top 10 with quarterback needs where the interviews did not go well.
Does that help explain why Shedeur went the first 2 days without getting drafted? I mean, if you were a coach and you're meeting with a prospect and the night before you gave him some plays to study and he comes in the next day, didn't study them, why on earth would you take this guy seriously? Would you want him on your team? Especially the most important position in all of sports. Why would you say, we want that guy? It makes no sense. And so that's why everyone's freaking out, from Stephen A. Smith to Mel Kiper Jr. about how the NFL doesn't know what they're doing. How about you get all the facts straight? How about you look at the reality of the situation where Shedeur Sanders is not talented enough to act the way he acts? And I don't know how you can fault teams for saying, we don't want him. We don't want that BS in our building. If he had the skill set of Patrick Mahomes, a lot more teams overlook that. Hell, if he had the skill set of Baker Mayfield, a lot more teams would overlook that. He doesn't. I think is a high floor, but he has a low ceiling. If we're talking about Geno Smith, why is Geno Smith, I don't say popular, but Geno Smith was well-liked in Seattle. Now the Raiders made a move by his old coach, Pete Carroll, to bring him there to be their bridge quarterback. Why have people put up with Geno Smith? Yeah, he's good and shows some flashes. He's not good enough to consistently get to the playoffs. He's not good enough to win you a playoff game. He's definitely not good enough to win you a Super Bowl. He's not your franchise guy. But people like Geno Smith because he's not headache. Because he's great to get along with. He's a great teammate. Now you're telling me if Geno Smith acted the way Shedeur Sanders did, how many teams are clamoring to have Geno Smith on their team? He's probably out of the league when you look at how he played versus the attitude you're getting. The NFL has told you, we will deal with BS if your talent is worth it. And what the NFL told Shedeur and a lot of other quarterbacks like him, you are not good enough to act the way you do. And look, Tom McShay is one source, right? And again, now you're starting to see, okay, the benefit of hindsight. When McShay said, checked out because look how teams view Shedeur dropping all the way to the 5th round. Let's give you another source. Right? I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to be pretty certain here. I don't think Tom McShay and Tom Pelissero here are exactly buddy-buddy, maybe talking to the exact same people. But let's hear a different report from Tom Pelissero on NFL Network. This was on Saturday morning before the start of day number 3 when he was explaining why Shedeur now has slipped into this point, has still yet to be drafted.
Throughout the pre-draft process, Shedeur Sanders very much proceeded as if he was dictating to clubs where he was going to go rather than how the draft works, which is the other way around. And there were a bunch of opportunities missed at the various checkpoints through that pre-draft process. Go all the way back to All-Star season. Instead of going to the Senior Bowl, he went to the East-West Shrine Bowl in his backyard in Dallas. Despite an NFL memo saying if you go to these All-Star games, you have to practice, Shedeur chose not to. At the Combine, it is now well documented some of his formal interviews did not go well. One assistant coach told me in all his years it was the worst formal interview he'd ever been through. All of which is to say, for a player who had a variety of questions both about the talent level, how he would fit into an NFL system, how he would adjust from his play style in college, but also about the potential culture shock of for the first time playing for someone who is not his father. There were opportunities that Shedeur Sanders could have taken there. He seemed to feel as if he was in an elite category where he could choose the few teams he wanted to go to.
So Tom McShay and Tom Pelissero work for 2 different companies, have similar reports from teams as to why Shedeur has fallen. Both line up and check out because they're both pretty similar. Do you now understand why we saw this precipitous drop from the former Colorado quarterback from what was thought to be maybe going at number 2 to the Browns or 3 to the Giants to all the way to pick 144? That's why I think when you hear all this now coming out, that's why I think his drop was warranted. I don't think teams missed out. I think teams made the right decision. I wouldn't want that noise if I was a GM on my team. I wouldn't. Go back and look at Colorado the last 2 years, right? The ratings show it. This was the most buzzy, attention-seeking program in all of college football. They came nowhere close to the college football playoff, but for 2 years, all everyone wanted to talk about was Colorado. They were the most watched team every single week. Everything they did and said had a big reaction. But Colorado was really a 3-man show. It was Deion, it was Shedeur, it was Travis Hunter. And really, Travis Hunter wasn't even talking that much. It was Deion and Shedeur. Those 2 were not afraid of the spotlight. So despite being Colorado, or despite I should say Colorado being one of the most watched programs in all of college football over the last 2 years, let me ask you this question really fast here. Outside of Deion, Shedeur, and Travis Hunter, can you name me right now one other Colorado player? I'll give you time. You think about that. But I already know the answer. The answer is no, you can't. Because those 2 specifically, and Deion and Shedeur, sucked up all the oxygen in the room every single week. Now again, think about where Shedeur is going. He is going to be a backup in Cleveland. 2nd string, possibly 3rd string here to start at least in week number 1. Why would any team with a backup quarterback or a guy that projects to be average, who's not going to be your franchise quarterback, why would you want that guy on your roster with all the attention that he brings? With a dad and a head coach at Colorado who has the biggest microphone in all of college football, who's going to get a lot of attention, and I'm sure going to give a lot of opinions on how his son is being coached and how he's being used. Why would you sign up for the headache? The answer is because the talent isn't worth it. And that's, to me, what it comes down to at the end of all this. Say what you want about Shedeur, the meetings, the attention, the social media, the videos, who his dad is, the last name, whatever. At the end of the day, his fall to the 5th round simply boils down to NFL teams not thinking the juice is worth the squeeze, not thinking his talent warrants the headaches and distractions that come along with it. Again, teams are okay dealing with BS. You look at some things that players are accused of doing, that are charged of doing, both illegally, and also just their study habits. If you have talent, the NFL has told you time and time and time again, they will give you a second, third, and fourth chance. As long as you are good and produce on the field, they will overlook almost anything you do. So Shedeur's never broken a law. He's never said a bad word. He's never gotten in trouble. Yet he was toxic. Why? Because the talent wasn't worth it. So in the end, I look at Shedeur's drop as being a talent issue more than anything else. I want to get your thoughts here at 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. This is a very divisive, very popular topic. It captivated the entire sports world. Everyone has an opinion right now at Shedeur's drop. I have no problem with it. I see it more to me as a talent issue versus a distraction issue. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. Do you agree with his drop? Do you think NFL teams have made mistakes in not drafting Shedeur and bypassing him for either lesser talented quarterbacks? I would say Dylan Gabriel's lesser talented than Shedeur Sanders. I would say Tyler Shuck is lesser talented than Shedeur Sanders. But they went ahead of him. Did the NFL get it right, or did they make a mistake when judging Shedeur Sanders and his draft stock? 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. Also tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3. Or write in our chat on YouTube that can be found on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. I want to hear your thoughts. Everyone has opinions on it. Let's hear them here at 888-710-4ISN. And it is Hick At Nite with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. When we do return, I want to get your thoughts. And also, now that Shedeur has been drafted, now that we know where he's going to be playing in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns, will he succeed? Will he have success? Will he prove the doubters wrong at the next level? I'll give him my answer to that question when we do return. It is Hick At Nite. Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
And welcome back into the show. Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network, tackling the big question everybody has coming out of this weekend. Why the hell did Shedeur Sanders drop as far as he did? Once thought to be, even a few months ago, the number one overall pick in this draft. Then, up until maybe a week ago, I thought, hey, maybe the Giants at 3 could take Shedeur. Falls to pick 144. Round 5, he goes to Cleveland. For me, I think the biggest reason why he fell from 1 to 5 is because the NFL is telling you, we don't think the talent is worth everything that comes along with Shedeur. The distractions, the dad with a big presence, everything that he brings, that is a walking distraction, that is a lot to deal with. Teams don't think he's good enough to justify dealing with those distractions. I don't blame them. I think they're in the right. Because I think when I look at Shedeur Sanders, I think he has a high floor. I think he's the most polished quarterback in this draft class. But with that said, I don't think he has the elite traits, the elite talent to be a top 5, top 10 quarterback. I look at him, I think Geno Smith. Mobile, can make some plays, can win you some ball games. About the 16th, 17th best quarterback in the league. That's what I think Shedeur could be. I think that's his ceiling. Maybe get to the playoffs once every 3 or 4 years. I don't think good enough to win you a playoff game. Definitely not enough to win you a Super Bowl. Probably does not mean he's a franchise quarterback. But you can do a lot worse than Geno Smith. I think you can do a lot worse than Shedeur. But being an average quarterback, being the 15th, 16th, 17th best quarterback in the league does not afford you the ability for teams to accept the distractions that come along with him. I have no problem with that. I agree. I look at the reports coming out about Shedeur not caring about the interviews and going to them unprepared. And I look at a guy said, I would not want that in my building. I wouldn't want the headache and the distraction that comes along with it. I'm going to pass. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. I want to get your thoughts here. Do you agree with the Shedeur drop, or do you think teams made a grave mistake in passing on Shedeur? I also want to get your thoughts here on, now that we know he's in Cleveland, what do you expect? Do you think he can have success with the Browns as he starts his NFL career? I want to give you my thoughts, and then we'll get yours here at 888-710-4ISN. And also, you could tweet me if you can't call Ryan_Hickey3. Again, I think Shedeur has good accuracy. I think he's a solid arm. He's mobile. I think he's the most polished and has the highest floor of any quarterback in this draft class, albeit a weak quarterback draft class. I think he can be serviceable, but when you look at his Cleveland career, I don't think he's long for the Browns. I do not think he'll be in Cleveland very long. The biggest thing is because the Browns, I think, already look at next year's draft as the one to get their franchise quarterback. When they traded down from 2 to 5 and got that first-round pick in 2026 from the Jaguars, I think, to me, that's them saying, we look at next year's draft as the draft to find our franchise quarterback, and we want to make sure no matter what our record is, we are in position to get our guy. So we're going to get extra draft capital, and they picked up an extra first-round pick from the Jaguars in 2026 to make sure we can trade up if we have to get the guy that we want. So I think already, even though they drafted both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, I think the Browns are already looking at 2026 as that's the draft. We're going to go find our franchise guy. That's reason number one. I don't think Shedeur is long for Cleveland. Number two, I don't think he's going to play a lot. Like, Joe Flacco is going to be the starter, at least to begin the year. Joe Flacco, I don't think is going to recapture the magic that he had in Cleveland 2 years ago when he played pretty well, got them to the playoffs. I saw Joe Flacco with the Colts last year. For how bad Anthony Richardson was, Joe Flacco played so poorly. It took 2 games for the Colts to be like, you know what? Richardson's actually not that bad. Well, let's go back to him because, boy, it's a lot more fun to watch than it is watching Joe Flacco. So Joe's going to play well enough 2-3 games, I think, to win you some for Cleveland. But I think this season's going to go downhill, and it's not going to be pretty. So I think by the time Thanksgiving rolls around, I think we'll see Shedeur. Maybe we see Kenny Pickett for a game. I think we'll see Shedeur Sanders start a few games here for Cleveland in 2025. I just don't think he's going to be good enough, flashy enough, consistent enough for the Browns to be like, guys, screw it. Screw 2026. Screw Archer Manning, Drew Aller, whoever else may come out. We got our guy here in Shedeur. I just don't think the sample size is going to be enough. So I don't really see this as a long-term partnership between Shedeur and the Browns. I think if he's going to have success and continuing the Geno Smith comp here, I think he's going to have to go to another team. You know, Geno bounced around a little bit before finally settling and finding a home in Seattle and finding his consistency later on in his career. I think it's going to be kind of similar with Shedeur here. He'll be in Cleveland for a year or two, either get cut or traded, just because I think, again, the Browns have their eyes on someone else in 2026, and it's all about then going to be that next landing spot. What team views him seriously? What team actually wants to give him a chance? And can he capitalize on that chance? But when you look at right now, Shedeur in Cleveland, I think he'll get a few starts. I don't think he's going to wow anybody. I think the Browns already are going to have their eyes set finding their franchise quarterback next year. So even though they took Shedeur, I don't think there's any real possibility here of him being the franchise guy in Cleveland for the long term. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network talking Shedeur's drop. Was it worth it in your opinion? Can he have success in Cleveland? 888-710-4ISN. Let's start the show, at least on the phones here in Dallas, and talk to DK. What's up, DK?
Yeah, what's going on, bro?
What's up,
Appreciate you
man?
Taking my call.
Thanks for making it. What's on your mind?
Man, I'm telling you, bro, I think you got it all wrong. Because Shedeur, I was looking it up. He won the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award. And that's for the best upperclassman quarterback who demonstrates exceptional athletic ability and academic achievement, as well as good character on and off the field. That's from their website.
Mm-hmm.
So all this stuff about him being a distraction when he was at Colorado or the stuff in those meetings, nobody put a name on it. It's always anonymous people. So maybe I read somewhere where it was the Giants, or you just mentioned that it was the Giants.
Yep.
What has Brian Daboll did? What has the Giants done except give away Saquon and miss out on drafting Daniels?
Well, let me ask you this, DK. You obviously listened to the first part of the show. Did you hear both reports from Tom McShay and Tom Pelissero, who basically
Yeah,
said the meetings were horrendous. They did not go well. Like that's the reason why he felt. No teams want to deal with that.
So I understand that, but let's say you're right, or those guys are right, but for him to fall to the 5th round, that's what we're saying. A bunch of Hall of Famers, a bunch of people around, like that's 2 people. It's more people associated with the NFL that are saying, no, this didn't make any sense. They have the same connections that Tom Pelissero and the other guy have. That's all I'm saying, bro. What was Colorado before? And then you mentioned something earlier. That's why I even called in. When you said Colorado didn't even sniff the playoffs. Yes, they did. If they would have won that game against Kansas.
They didn't,
yeah,
DK. And that's okay, part of the problem.
That's sniffing, bro.
That's part of the problem, DK. This is like, you want to talk about Shedeur and actually the talent part of it. This is a guy who did not play well, really, like played his worst football against the best teams on Colorado's schedule. They beat one ranked team, first game in Colorado's, in their tenure there, and it turned out to be an overrated TCU team that finished with 5 wins. Against the best competition, they folded.
Please don't come. Let me say this one last thing. As far as winning those games, sir, he had the most sacks in college football for 2 years in a row. But he also he was top 5 his first year at Colorado in completion percentage, and he led the nation in completion percentage.
Mm-hmm.
How much can he do when he's getting sacked every other series?
It's twofold, DK, in the terms of he's holding on to the ball too long. I appreciate the call. Like, it goes both ways. Again, I'm not trying to sit here and tell you the guy sucks. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think he could be an average NFL quarterback. But again, average does not translate to teams being patient when it comes to dealing with distractions. And you want to look at the sacks, the offensive line for Colorado was bad. With that said, go watch Shedeur play. He holds on to the ball for a long time. He sometimes does not give his offensive line a chance. Or he puts them in a bad situation by holding onto the ball so long. The timing is not there at times. The reads are not there. Like, it's not just all because he was playing with 5 guys that were not very good. It goes both ways here. Let's go to Han calling from Minneapolis. What's up, Han?
Hey, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, buddy. What's on your mind?
You know, I'm torn because I agree with almost everything you're saying, but I think you're also maybe agreeing with, I don't think he should have fell to the 5th round. I think he showed enough work that he should have gone 2nd, 3rd, maybe even late 1st by one of those teams. But, to that case as well, if a guy isn't interviewing well, is showing signs of not caring, or he already thinks he's bigger than the NFL or certain NFL teams, that's not going to land well with GMs, owners, and coaches, and the rest of the team. You're a college kid coming here.
Right, and that's yes, I agree, and thank you for the call. And imagine I'm sure a lot of you listening right now are in a position where maybe you own your own business and you're a boss of some sort. So imagine someone came into an interview to work for your company and was basically telling you how this is going to go. Telling you, how the company's going to be run, what their job is going to be, what they're going to get paid. That's essentially what is being reported here. Shedeur's coming in and basically calling the shots. He's saying, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to either play for you or I'm not. If I do play for you, we're going to do this, do that. As a boss, if you were interviewing someone, you would get turned off by an interview coming in here and telling you what to do. Who do you think you are? What have you accomplished to come in here and tell me as a boss or as an owner of a company to tell me what to do? What have you done? And again, I've seen the comparisons to the Manning family. I've seen the comparisons to Baker Mayfield. Those comparisons to me are apples and oranges, in part because Baker actually accomplished something. Eli had a lot more talent than Shedeur. Baker Mayfield won a Heisman Trophy and took Oklahoma to the playoffs twice. These guys at least actually accomplished something. And again, we're not sitting here. In the case of Eli, he did. But I think he's much more talented where you're able to do that more. And in the case of Baker Mayfield, he just had a big personality and kind of told you what he thought. That was not a guy that was dictating terms, but at least he had a lot of success. At least he had some accomplishments to fall back on. What does Shedeur have? The Alamo Bowl? That's what we're looking at here? A 9-win season in the Alamo Bowl. That's not enough to sit here and think that now you're in charge. As saying, Captain Phillips, look at me, I'm the captain now. No, you are not the captain now. You are not coming in here and telling us what to do. There's not enough accomplishments to warrant the demands. And that's why I think in part we saw the slide. The talent did not match how he carried himself. It's just like a girl at the bar who's cute but thinks she's way hotter than she is. It's a big, big, big turnoff, and no one's going to be interested. If you have a quarterback in here who thinks he's Patrick Mahomes walking into your combine meeting, walking into your private workout thinking he's above studying, install packages that team gave you the night before, you better be the best quarterback prospect to ever live. Shedeur's not that. And that's why you had a lot of teams saying thanks, but no thanks. And that's why I can't fault teams, even in the second, third round, for saying we're good, because those are still premium picks. You could still get a good contributing player in the second round, third round, fourth round. What the Browns ultimately did, whoever drafted Shedeur once we got to day 3, what they ultimately were doing was taking a flyer. That's all it was. Taking a flyer. I'm not taking a flyer in round 2. I'm not taking a flyer in round 3. There's still enough contributing players out there to I'd rather have a starting linebacker versus a guy in Shedeur that may never see the field. 888-710-4ISM. 888-710-4ISN. Also, you can tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3. You saw Shedeur drop from round 1 to round number 5. Was it justified in your opinion? And now that he's landed in Cleveland, will he have success? 888-710-4ISN. Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter. Also, check out the chat. Infinity Sports Network is where you can find our YouTube page. Comment on the chat. We have a lot of funny guys in there. Give your thoughts as well. When we return here on the show, as it is Hick at Nite with Ryan Hickey on the Infinity Sports Network, I'll tell you, along with getting your thoughts, who the best quarterback, when we look back on this draft class a decade from now, who the best quarterback will end up being. We'll do that after we get this latest sports update from Peter Schwartz.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
A riddle sponsored by Progressive Insurance. With your home and auto have in common, Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com. NBA playoffs in the second quarter. Pacers lead the Bucks in Game 4, 58-47. However, the Bucks lost Damian Lillard in the first quarter, and reportedly, the Bucks fear it is a left Achilles tear. Elsewhere, the Celtics beat the Magic 107-98 to go up 3-1. Now to Detroit.
Hardaway will inbound from the near sideline just in front of the New York bench. He's handed the ball. Finds Cunningham up top. Net by Anunoby. Crossover at the foul line. Pull up 2. Back rimmed it. Who's got the rebound? Tipped by Harris. Hart fighting for it. Winds up on the deck. Comes to Hardaway near corner. Shoots at the horn. Missed it. He missed it. Rebound McBride. Pistons want a foul. They're not getting it.
Tyler Murray, the call, Knicks radio. Knicks over the Pistons in Game 4. 94-93. They take a 3-1 series lead. T-Wolves up 3-1 on Lakers after a 116-113 win in Game 4. Stanley Cup playoffs after 1. Kings lead the Oilers 1-0 in Game 4, and the Kings are up 2-1. Now to Montreal.
And Van Riemsdyk alertly will play it ahead, and Montreal is going to put Caulfield to the bench. Big line trading and heading off. Here's Mangiapane coming down the middle. He scores! Andrew Mangiapane scores from the high slot. Coming into the zone, he just beat Jakub Dobeš with 3:37 to go in the third.
John Walton, Capitals radio. Caps beat the Canadiens 5-2. Washington goes up 3-1. Hurricanes over the Devils 5-2 to go up 3-1. The Blues beat the Jets 5-1. The series tied at 2. Baseball in 10. The Phillies over the Cubs 3-1. I'm Peter Schwartz.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night. Here's Ryan Hickey.
One basketball update before we get back to Shedeur Sanders and his draft stock. So halftime here in the last playoff game of the night in Milwaukee, Pacers up 63-52. Big story here to watch out for. In the first half, Damian Lillard suffered a non-contact injury to his left leg, had to be carried off the court. And Chris Haynes of Bleacher Report is now reporting that there is a fear. This is yet to be diagnosed, but the early thoughts and early fear is that Damian Lillard tore his left Achilles. We'll keep you updated more as this game does go on, and once it finishes, we'll get some post-game sound from Doc Rivers and the Bucks. Hopefully we'll have more of an update. I'm sure they'll do some tests, and we'll probably get an official word here in the next few days. But that is a fear, according to at least Chris Haynes, that Dame has torn his Achilles, which obviously would be devastating and impact the Bucks, not just in this series, but next year. I think could help exacerbate the exit of Giannis in Milwaukee. I would not be surprised if we see the Bucks lose this game, which again, right now they're down by 11.5. No Dame for the rest of this game and most likely the series. I would not be surprised if we are looking at Giannis playing his last home game in Milwaukee. Again, we'll dive into that more as that game once it goes final. Halftime, Pacers up 63-52. Keep you updated on more updates we do get on the status and injury status of Dame. Obviously, prayers and hopes that this is not an Achilles tear, that it's something way less significant that would not keep him out for a very long time. That would be absolutely devastating. But as we do talk the slide right now of Shedeur Sanders, as it is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network, the questions I'm asking you and answering here, is the slide justified? I think so. And will he have success now that he's a Cleveland Brown? 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. Before we get back to your thoughts here, I just want to throw this out quickly. Because it's easy to say, the first quarterback taken, he's going to be the best in this draft class. It actually rarely is the case. I look back the last 10 drafts. 4 times in the last decade, could you truly say the first quarterback taken ended up being the best quarterback in that draft class? So more times than not, it's actually quarterback 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that end up being the best in that specific draft class, not number 1. With that said, though, I think when we're looking back, look at this draft class a decade from now, I think Cam Ward will be the best quarterback in this draft class. He's athletic, he's a playmaker, he's got a good arm, and he's in a situation in Tennessee that isn't completely dire. I like Brian Callahan. I think he's a good offensive mind. He has some talent at receiver. Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, they're at least pros. So you're not bereft of talent there. The offensive line, at least, I think, gives you a chance. I think when it's all said and done here, 10 years from now, we're looking at Cam Ward as the best quarterback. Will he be top 10? I would probably lean no. I don't think he's going to be an elite quarterback, but I think he could be pretty solid. But behind him, this will be a shocker for you. I think the second best quarterback in this draft class, when we look back at a decade from now, I think it's going to be the Steelers quarterback and Will Howard. Because what I like a lot about Will Howard is that this is a guy that is a high-level execution guy, but also has fought through adversity. I saw him firsthand as a Penn State fan in the stadium. He threw an early pick 6 against Penn State on the road back in November. Ohio State is down 10-0 to a top 5 opponent on the road, yet he battled back, grinded his way to a victory, bounced back from the worst game he had of the season against Michigan to playing the 4 best games of the season when Ohio State needed him to the most in the playoff. He had 8 touchdown passes, just 2 picks in the postseason, averaging nearly 290 yards per game, and on the biggest throw of the national title game, on 3rd down, as Notre Dame got some momentum back, he throws a beautiful deep ball to Jeremiah Smith to ice the game to win a national title. This guy's bounced back from adversity. He's proven it on the big stage. He elevates his game and those around him in some big moments. I know he doesn't do anything flashy athletically, but I think this could be a guy who's solid, is in a good landing spot. I think he fits the Arthur Smith run first play action style system that Pittsburgh has. I think if he gets a shot, kind of similar to Dak Prescott, I think he can make the most of it. There's not a lot of talent in this draft class, but I think when we're looking back on it a decade from now, and then we'll talk about Cam Ward number 1, I think we're talking Will Howard number 2. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. Let's go to Minneapolis, hear your thoughts, and let's talk to Alan. What's up, Alan?
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for making it, man. What's on your mind?
Hey, two quick two quick questions. Of the quarterbacks drafted, which ones do you think were drafted by an organization that's going to help them win? I know you were just talking about Will Howard, but anybody else you think is going to be solid?
Let me look back at, you asked me the second question. I just want to make sure I don't miss anyone here in terms of all the quarterbacks drafted in 2025. What was your other question, Alan?
The other question is, if you build a team around Sanders, do you think he could be successful? When you look at a Trent Dilfer or Brad Johnson, they weren't great quarterbacks, but they won.
Yes, no, you're right. And for me, Alan, what I say, and I appreciate the call, is I go back to average. I think his ceiling is just above average. I think his ceiling is like Geno Smith. 15th, 16th, 17th best quarterback in the league. Right there, right? Look at Colorado. Colorado had Travis Hunter. They also had two other receivers drafted. They had a lot of offensive skill talent. And so you saw that team built around Shedeur. Could the offensive line been a little bit better? Yes. But you had some legitimately talented players around Shedeur, and this is a guy who put up some big numbers. I think if you have a team built around him, I think he can be, again, like Geno Smith. And Geno Smith led the Seahawks to the playoffs. I think Shedeur could be a quarterback of a playoff team. I don't think he can win a playoff game. I don't think he can get a team there consistently. But I think he could be, if you say, hey, he's a 5-year starter, I think he can get to a team to the playoffs 2 times. 2 out of 5 years. I think he can. That to me is his ceiling. In terms of question number one, in terms of teams that are could also develop a quarterback, I just go back to what I said about Will Howard and the Steelers, just because the Eagles drafted Kyle McCord. Is Kyle McCord going to play enough to be developed? No, he's not. The Browns drafted 2 quarterbacks in Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. And again, my opinion about the Browns is I think they're already looking at 2026 as their franchise quarterback, which is why they traded down from 2 to 5 and got that extra first-round pick from the Jaguars, because they thought we need as much draft capital as we can to make sure we can get our guy in 2026. You look at the Seahawks drafting Jalen Milroe. I like what Mike McDonald is building. Now, you just lost DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. You got to rebuild on the offensive end. But they're kind of a team that, Milroe's a big project. So there are some teams that made some quarterback moves that I think are built to develop. But you saw in a weak quarterback class, not many teams really want to take a chance, or not really many teams, I should say, put the eggs of any quarterbacks in their basket. They did not go all in on a guy really outside of the Titans and Cam Ward. And I guess you could say the Giants too with Jackson Dart, although they have Russ and Jameis Winston there. And I don't think the Giants are precluded from drafting a quarterback next year if things go haywire. Really, the only team that went all in on a quarterback this year is Cam Ward. And you saw a lot of teams, I think, smartly kind of, we'll take a chance or a flyer on a guy. But we're not going to make him our franchise quarterback. Let's go actually to Cleveland, the now new home of Shedeur Sanders, and talk to Tom. What's up, Tom?
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course, man. Thanks for making it. What's on your minds?
Absolutely. Yeah, man, I'm just, I'm kind of upset about the draft pick. It's kind of 50-50 split here in Cleveland. I just don't think, we're actually still dealing with Deshaun Watson and the drama that he brought to the locker room.
Yep.
He's under contract for, a couple more years. He retore his ACL. He's probably going to miss the entire season. I don't think he's going to take another snap for the Browns personally. Agreed. But I feel like the locker room, the quarterback room, just needed a reset. They traded for Kenny Pickett. By all reports, he's a good locker room guy. They brought in the pros pro and Joe Flacco. They brought him back. So I thought we were getting a cleanse, a refresh, a restart to the quarterback room. And then they drafted Shedeur in the 5th round. So I thought it was a huge mistake. Personally, I thought they won day one. Thursday, they got the Jags first-round pick next year. They got Judkins. They got the linebacker from
Mason
UCLA.
They did a good job.
From Michigan. I thought they had a hell of a Thursday, and then they fell off the tracks. Personally, I was kind of flabbergasted by the Dylan Gabriel in round 3 pick. That kind of caught me off guard, really. But Andrew Berry and his staff came out and said that they liked him a lot more than or they had him above Shedeur and Jalen Milroe. So this draft pick by the Browns screams it came from the ownership.
I was
Jimmy Haslam.
Just about to say, Tom, and that's a great point by you, and thank you for making in terms of the Deshaun Watson distraction. I didn't really put 2 and 2 together in terms of that was a lot to deal with, and then all of a sudden now you kind of add more by bringing Shedeur in. But I think you nailed it. I think the Shedeur Sanders pick by the Browns was not Andrew Berry driven, was not Kevin Stefanski driven. it was ownership driven. Take a listen to this. The video went viral on social media of the reaction when the Browns actually drafted Shedeur, of everyone in the war room clapping. They all look miserable. They were actually asked about this after the draft. Why did you not look so happy? Take a listen to both Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry's answer.
When we saw your guys' reaction in the war room, it just didn't look necessarily exuberant. So I don't know what we were seeing, but maybe you can explain that. And then also, like, how did this happen?
Yeah, I think we're probably just tired from the weekend.
Those clips, it's not timed up to exactly the right
When
time.
we're actually
so I
making
wouldn't
a pick.
don't read too much into that.
Huh. Yeah, okay. They're telling us to don't read too much into it. I think we can, and we can put two together. That reaction, that explanation tells you that was not an Andrew Berry selection. That was not a Kevin Stefanski selection. That was ownership stepping in. The Haslam's are saying, draft Shedeur. What are we waiting for? They didn't want to. They had to, which is also part of the reason why I don't think Shedeur is going to be long for Cleveland. Also. All right, so continue to get your thoughts here. Is Shedeur, was the drop justified? Will he have success now that he's a Cleveland Brown? Also, when we return, I'll give you the two moves I loved, two moves I hated from the NFL draft. It's Ryan Hickey on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome in to the Hick At Nite Show. Here's Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on into Hick At Nite. It is, of course, Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. A very happy Sunday, and thank you for making us a part of it right here on the Infinity Sports Network. If you are just tuning in, check out the Hick At Nite podcast feed, Nite spelled N-I-T-E, available wherever you get your pods, to catch up on the first hour, which we talked a lot about the draft stock of Shedeur Sanders, and I explained why I think his drop was warranted. I think NFL teams are justified in saying, no thanks, we're good, up until the Browns at pick 144 finally took him off the board and finally ended the slide. So you want to hear that explanation? You want to hear who I think will be the best quarterback 10 years from now out of this draft class? Go back and check out the podcast feed, Hick At Nite, Nite spelled N-I-T-E. It is available wherever you do get your pods in order to get caught up. We're going to continue to take your Shedeur thoughts here because I think it's a big topic that a lot of people are talking about, so we want your voice heard here as well. But before we do that, I want to quickly also just talk about other draft moves because it's not just the Shedeur Sanders show. Other teams made moves, other players got picked, and I think it's also worth some airtime here as we are coming to you for the first time since the NFL draft is officially in the books. Two moves I want to give that I really like, two moves that I want to give you that I really dislike. We'll start with the positives here. The two moves I loved the most. The first one was the Jaguars-Browns trade. I loved it from both sides. I know it's rare to say a trade is a win-win. I think this is the rare case where this trade, where the Browns went from 2 to 5, the Jaguars trade up to get Travis Hunter, I think is a win-win on both sides. I love the aggressiveness. I love the conviction from new GM James Gladstone of the Jaguars to find his guy and say, you know what? This is a true transformational player that we need on our roster. We're going to give up the farm to go get him. I love the conviction going from 5 to 2. They get a guy, Travis Hunter, who is neither number 1 or number 2 in terms of most talented player in this draft, depending on how you view him and Abdul Carter. But a legit freak, a guy who loves football, a guy who I think will not be a concern whatsoever in terms of, being distracted, the money getting to his head. This guy is all ball. So he has the perfect temperament you want from a guy that I think can truly become a Hall of Fame type player. He can play both ways. It sounds like he will play both ways, so he can impact the game in many ways. Now, if I was the Jaguars, I'd play him at DB first, not receiver. It does not seem like they're going to do that. Other than that, I love this move. I love the conviction. I love the aggressiveness from James Gladstone and the Jaguars, this new look Jaguars team, setting the tone and telling everyone we are going to be aggressive. We're going to be taking swings. I love it. And from the Browns side, I think while you do miss out on Travis Hunter, I think this trade for them is still a win-win because you still get, I think, one of the 5 most talented players in this draft in Mason Graham out of Michigan. He's going to bring toughness. He is a beast inside. Him on the inside, Myles Garrett on the outside is going to be a hell of a combo for offensive lines to have to try to stop every single week. So I think he'll be a big-time impact player on that defensive line. Get the Browns tougher in the trenches. But you also pick up a 2026 first-round pick, which, again, allows you the ammunition you need to get the quarterback you ultimately want to be your next franchise guy. And trading down 3 spots, still getting a very talented player, but also getting that first-round pick, I think helps to guarantee as much as you can a year out that the Jaguars get their guy. Because look, maybe Trevor Lawrence bounces back. Maybe the Jaguars now with Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. actually win a few games. It's not like the AFC South is a formidable division. Maybe they win the division. Oh, what am I talking about? I'm talking for the Jaguars. I'm so stupid. My apologies. I'm talking about the Jaguars' perspective. From the Browns' perspective, right? Look, maybe Joe Flacco gets hot. I don't think the Browns are a playoff team, but the roster's not bad. Maybe you win 6 games next year. You're 6-11. Okay, at 6-11, are you going to be in the prime position you need to be to draft a quarterback? Probably not. So like how they go and get a second first-round pick that allows them, if need be, to trade up and have a juicy trade-up package to get the guy they want. That's why I look at this trade as a win-win on both sides. That's the first move I absolutely loved. The other move, I love the Packers drafting Matthew Golden. I love it. Because now it's not just the fact that the Packers finally did it. They finally drafted a receiver in the first round for the first time since 2002. It's not just that they broke the streak. It's the fact that the guy they drafted in Golden profiles to be wide receiver 1, and that's what the Packers have been missing. They have a group of, we'll call it good receivers. They don't have one guy that's great. There's not one guy Jordan Love can rely on. Love himself has to be better with decision-making, be better with consistency. It's on him to improve coming out of year number 2, in which he really kind of faltered down the stretch. But I think it's also partly his struggles were due to the fact that there was no reliable receiver. I thought Jaden Reed was the best receiver the Packers have on their roster. They didn't throw him the ball in the second half of the season. I have no idea why. But now you get a guy in Golden who can turn into that number 1 guy, that reliable receiver. Hey, it's third down and need a play. Who can I trust? Golden. I like the fact that the Packers drafted a guy that profiles to slide in to be the best receiver on this team and give Jordan Love a reliable guy week in and week out. So those are the 2 moves I loved. I love the trade from both the Jaguars and the Browns' perspectives. I think it was a true win-win trade with the Jags going from 5 to 2. And I love the Packers drafting Matthew Golden in round number 1. The 2 moves I hated. We talked about it last week. I can't believe the Raiders actually did it. I can't believe the Raiders drafted Ashton Jeanty number 6. I hate it for 2 reasons. Number 1, I think a running back is only as effective as the offensive line blocking for him. They could still produce, yards and be productive if you have a great running back behind a bad offensive line. Not that the Giants' offensive line was bad per se, but look at Saquon Barkley with the Giants, and look at with the Eagles. When you have a good offensive line blocking for him, his talents exponentially improved. But Jeanty now going to the Raiders, who have the worst run blocking offensive line in the league, even with how elusive he is, how powerful he is, he's going to have the greatest 1-yard highlight reel in all the NFL. I think a lot of his productiveness and a lot of his capabilities are going to be impacted by the 5 guys blocking for him that are not very good. That's reason number 1 why I don't love this draft pick. I don't think the Raiders have an offensive line right now built to open up holes for Jeanty to be his most effective. And number 2, running back value in the draft is not high enough to justify drafting guy number 6 overall. If you're the Eagles and you want to draft a running back in round number 1, let's say you didn't have Saquon Barkley, okay, fine, they could do it. The Bills could do it. Certain teams are able to draft a running back in round number 1 and have it make sense. The Raiders are not one of them, especially number 6. This was a very deep running back class. So you look at Cam Skadaboo, who went in round 4 to the Giants. I love that fit. You look at both Ohio State running backs that went in round number 2, Trayvon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. I think very talented. You could have waited, if you're the Raiders, to round 2, 3, or 4 and gotten similar value to Jeanty at 6. I think it's a waste to use a top 6 pick on a running back. The Raiders are not there where they're a piece away, where they could do it, plus their offensive line stinks. I hated that move. Hated it from Vegas, taking Jeanty. But here's Pete Carroll, though, explaining what he loves so much about the former Boise State running back.
He was hard to tackle. I mean, you guys couldn't get him on the ground. And, I compared him with a lot of players in the past, that skill to make people miss and to bounce off tackles and to use the force of the tacklers. And he had marvelous talent in that regard. And that he reminded me, and I'm not going to share him with you because I don't want to compare, but with a number of players that we've watched over the years and going back quite a ways. I thought he was that unique.
He makes a lot of people miss. That he does. The problem is when he makes 5 people miss a play, he's going to get 2 yards because there's going to be so many players in the backfield because that O-line can't block anybody. Don't love the move by the Raiders drafting Eshigenti number 6. The other move I despised from round number 1 of the NFL draft is the Falcons trading back up into round number 1, giving away a first-round pick to draft to draft Tennessee's James Pierce Jr. defensive end. The reason why I hate this move is because he has commitment issues. This is a guy who's uber talented. He led Tennessee in sacks and tackles for loss last year and this year. He was number 2 in college football in terms of pressure rate in 2024. This guy is a production machine, yet he lasted into the 20s in the draft because so many teams were scared and had questions about his love of football, his commitment to the game, his work ethic. So those questions are legitimate, and a lot of good teams that need a pass rusher of James Pierce's production said, we're good, we're not going to risk it. And here the Falcons come in, not only drafting him, but giving up a first-round pick in 2026 when you essentially have, in Michael Penix Jr., a rookie quarterback starting next year who barely played. That makes no sense. This year could go south for the Falcons. I don't think he will, but if Penix struggles as his first full year as a starter, you don't have a first-round pick next year to at least get a talented player on your team. I don't love the fact that they gave up a second-round pick this year and a first-round pick next year to get a guy that has legitimate character concerns. That, to me, does not make sense. So the 2 moves I loved. I love the Packers drafting Matthew Golden to be their number 1 receiver. I love the trade of the Jaguars and the Browns. The 2 moves I despised. The Raiders drafting Eshigenti and the Falcons trading back up into round number 1 to get James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. A lot of hour number 1 was filled with discussions about Shedeur Sanders' drop, going from projected number 3 overall to the 5th round. For me, I think the NFL told Shedeur, and anyone else who wants to kind of follow in his footsteps, your talent is not worth the distractions you bring. You are not good enough to act the way you do and carry yourself the way you do. I have no problem with the NFL saying that. I think they made the right call because I agree. I think Shedeur projects to be an average NFL quarterback. And he carries himself like he's Patrick Mahomes. So I totally understand and agree with a lot of teams in round 1, every team in round 1, 2, 3, and 4 saying, I'm not drafting a guy who I think can be the next Geno Smith, but carries himself like Mahomes. I'm not doing it. I don't want that in my building. I agree with that assessment. If you disagree, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. Let's go to Georgia, talk to Dom. What's up, Dom?
What's going on? I appreciate the call.
Of course. Well, thanks for making it, man. What's on your mind?
Yeah. Yes, sir. I'll make a few points here. I bet Rodgers would have loved that first round pick on offense when he was there with the Packers.
Yes, I agree with that. Who begged them to take receivers. They didn't listen.
They did not. But I think with Sanders, I'll make a few points on the show. I'll get out of your way. But I think there's a level of, all right, you're cocky and confidence, but I think cockiness is okay. I think cocky is more of a personal trait to where it's embedded in you and you can't get away from that. But, I mean, you look at the NFL and the owners, the franchise, they have an extensive background that's check that they do on you. So, I mean, they're talking to you, your family, your friends, because, I mean, I fly Black Ops to the Army, and they talk to all of my friends to make sure, hey, is this guy good? You know, is he great? Can you vouch for him? So I feel like if you're getting paid millions of dollars, they are going to do an extensive background check on you to make sure that that you are the product they want to draft. So I feel like he dropped because I think of maybe some character issues I've heard with some friends of mine that work for certain schools in the SEC and other schools where they've seen or they've heard that he's not the best towards his teammates You also see on the sidelines after the games, he's flashing his watch, and there's a special watch on field like that, and think that a team is going to draft you based off of your abilities. It's more than just your abilities. It's how you carry yourself. And I feel like that the character has to change or be subdued in order to be where you want to be. But it's just, I mean, I hated that it happened this way, but I mean, you got to look at the big picture. You got to, this is your career. I mean, what do you want to do? I mean,
right. And Dom, I think it's very fair, and I appreciate the call. And that's why I agree with a lot of this dropping. Like, it's twofold in the sense of, right, number one, you carry yourself in a certain way. And look, I think for any quarterback, right, in order for them to be successful, you want them to have a certain level of arrogance and cockiness, right? You have to believe you are the best, because in order to succeed, you need to have that confidence. But there is a line for sure, right? I mean, Baker Mayfield's been talked about being maybe too cocky or too arrogant, but it's twofold in the sense of, at least Baker Mayfield, when he was coming out of Oklahoma, he won a Heisman Trophy, and he took Oklahoma to the playoffs 2 different times and was nearly in that insane game against Georgia, a player or two away from going to a national title game. He had a lot of high-level success with the Sooners. Shedeur did not have that. So as teams are looking and evaluating, they're seeing how he is as a person. They're evaluating his study habits, how he interviews, how he carries himself. And they're also then watching the film and saying, okay, this guy carries himself in a certain way. If he was Jordan Love, if he was Caleb Williams, if he was Jaden Daniels, if he was Baker Mayfield in college, I think he would have been a first-round pick. A lot of teams would have said, we want that arrogance. That's going to be a benefit, not a detriment. We want him. But a lot of teams looked at the arrogance, the cockiness, how he carries himself, plus projecting how he translates to the NFL of, he's kind of okay. Maybe he'll just be average. They said cockiness, how he carries himself, personality. We'll use personality as just a blanket thing to put everything under the umbrella. Personality plus production to them did not equal first-round talent. Did not equal a guy they wanted on their roster. The math didn't math. That's why he dropped. And that's why, again, I don't disagree. I think he's going to be an average quarterback. He's not good enough to justify carrying himself the way he carries himself. That's, I think, the bottom line. Mike is calling from San Francisco. What's up, Mike?
Mr. Hickey, sir, how are you?
Doing well, Mike. How are you, buddy?
Good, buddy. Much respect, first off. I was going to say this till last, but how about that 37-year-old babyface assassin, my Warriors? But in any event, Shedeur and Louis Riddick, I'm almost positive you heard the comments he made. Much respect for that guy on ESPN. Said something about it being personal about the Sanders, about how he got, how it took so long for him to get drafted. Mm-hmm. And then one of my homies earlier said, and I could take your answer off the air, said that, and I quote, said that he got Colin Kaepernicked. Now, I don't know if that. It had me thinking for a minute, like if he got shunned or something, but I see him, and of course I'm no Greg Cosell or anybody like that, but I see him as a little bit better version of like a Tyrod Taylor or something like that. But you laugh at me if you will.
No, but, I said Geno Smith, Mike. So like Geno is better than Tyrod, yeah. But. So I think he could be like an average starter. Tyrod's kind of the bottom team. But like we're not talking about a top 10 guy, right? We're not talking about a transformational talent the way Mahomes is, the way Josh Allen is, the way, Jaden Daniels is, right? Like we're talking about a middle to bottom tier guy. And
yeah, sorry, you first.
You can finish your thought.
Oh, really quick. Now, for all we know, he could come in and throw for 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. But it's doubtful. But yeah, I don't see it. But I thank you for your time, sir, and I love talking sports with you, and I will call more frequently.
Sounds like a plan, Mike. Good to hear your voice. Looking forward to talking with you again. The one thing I'll say before we go to break here, because you brought it up, we haven't really brought it up yet, but there's been plenty of media members that have used the blackball term, that have brought up Colin Kaepernick, that said he's getting banned. Here is why there's, to me, zero chance of this happening. It's not even a thought in my mind. Look at players in the league that have actually done legitimately bad things, beat their wives, endanger their children, kill someone, assault people. Deshaun Watson had all these allegations, and the Browns still said, let's give you $230 million guaranteed. You come to our team. We're going to have 3 first-round picks. We don't care what you did off the field. We want you because we think your talent is worth it. Look, for everything we're talking about Shedeur, right? The guy's a good guy in the sense of he's not hurting anybody. He's not committing any crimes. He's not a danger to society. He's a model citizen in terms of living everyday life. Why he would be blackballed, yet all these other players that have done heinous crimes, that have actually hurt people, that have gotten arrested, why they have gotten multiple chances, it makes no sense to me. That's why I don't think there's any sort of collusion, Kaepernick 2.0, blackball situation. For what? What has he actually done that would warrant him getting blackballed? He's got a big personality. Jaden Daniels' mom goes with him everywhere he goes. And even when he's talking to another accomplished athlete in Juju Watkins, she goes, you're not talking to my son. Get the hell out of here. She treats him like he's 13 years old. No one has any problem with that. Why? Because Jaden Daniels is a great player. Talent wins out over everything. But in terms of Shedeur, there's nothing where he did that I think NFL teams are trying to blackball him. Again, he also got drafted. It's not like he's it's not like he's went undrafted, unsigned. He's in the league. You know, when the Browns, I think, eventually move off of him, when they draft their next quarterback next year, there will be a team that trades for him for pennies on the dollar. To me, the whole blackball conversation is, to me, a non-starter, just because I don't see the actual merits of how you can look at that and say this is what's happening. For what reason? Because he has a famous dad? No. 888-710-4ISN. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. When we return, I want to play a little game with you here. Because everyone's always excited about the draft picks and all this guy could be a true franchise changer. I want to play a little game. Bust or bust. Is this player closer to getting a Hall of Fame bust or closer to being an NFL draft bust? We'll go through some of the top picks here in this past draft and tell you that when we do return. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night. Here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
So when you are drafting, at least my mindset here in the top 10, right? I think you're expecting to get a transformational player. A player that could be with your team 10, 12 years, that could have a path to could have a path to having his number in the rafters one day, retired as being one of the best to ever play for your team. So I want to play a little game here. We're going to look at the top 10 picks, and we're just going to go 1 through 5. We'll look at the top 5 picks. We'll circle back on the bottom half of the 10 here later on in the show. And I want to put them in a category. Are they either closer to a Hall of Fame bust of being one of the best, or are they closer to an NFL draft bust? Doesn't mean they're going to stink, but hey, they're closer to maybe being a failure, let's say, than they are a success. Let's get a little NFL music, and let's have a little fun. All right, so Jack Carty has the names of some of the players drafted here at the top of round number 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft. So the game is NFL Draft Bust or Hall of Fame Bust. You know, you're getting where those busts in Canton. Jack, which player we got first?
So, Ryan, first up, we got Cam Ward.
I think it'll be closer to an NFL Draft Bust than getting a Hall of Fame bust. I think Cam will be solid. We talked about it earlier in the show. I think Cam will be, when it's all said and done a decade from now, we'll look back and view him as the best quarterback in this draft class. But with that said, in a weak class, I don't think that's saying much. I think he will be average. You know, could be a guy that's maybe 13th, 14th best quarterback in the league. Like, he does have some exciting athletic traits. He also holds on to the ball a very long time. I have some processing issues. I just don't know how he's going to translate to an NFL game that, sure, is more wide open than it used to be, but with some of the systems he ran at Washington State and Miami, I'm just not sure how much it's going to convert him to where he is going to be a top 10 stud year in and year out. So when it's either, hey, are you closer to being a Hall of Famer or being a bust? I'm going to say Cam's going to be closer to being an NFL draft bust here than a Hall of Fame bust as well for Cam Ward.
Okay, next up on our list, Travis Hunter.
I'm going to say he's closer to getting a Hall of Fame bust. He's legit. I think when you look at his skill set, his dedication to football, his ball skills in terms of route running, catch radius, ball tracking, like every speed, it all checks out. Now, again, if I was the Jaguars, I'd rather play him on defense first and mix him in a little bit on offense later versus the way they're going to do it, which is going to be start him on offense, put him across from Brian Thomas Jr., and give Trevor Lawrence another stud to throw the ball to, and then maybe moonlight him on defense a little bit here and there. With that said, like he's an athletic freak. He checks every box you could possibly want. I think he's the right mindset as well, where he's going to get the most out of his talent. He is elite. Hall of Fame draft bust for one Travis Hunter.
And number 3 on our Hall of Fame bust or NFL draft bust, we have Abdul Carter.
Of the New York Giants, I'm going to say Hall of Fame bust. I think he's that good. When I watch Abdul, and I watch a lot, I watch every snap of him as a Penn Stater, I see Von Miller. That to me is what he can translate to being at this NFL level. He's lightning quick off the edge. He gets into the backfield quicker than if you flip a switch on, right? If in a dark room you walk in and flip the light on, he's in the backfield quicker than when you turn that light from off to on. He is that quick. He used to play linebacker for the first 2 years at Penn State, so he's good in space. He has coverage skills if you need, which now you're starting to see more defensive ends drop back and be asked to do more outside just rushing the quarterback. The big question I had about him when he made the move from linebacker to DN last year for Penn State was, is he tough enough to stop the run? He's fast, but is he strong enough to push offensive tackles back? He absolutely is. He's more than just a get after the quarterback guy. He's a 3-down defensive end. I think he's going to flourish in that Giants defensive line. There's a lot of talent around him. I think he could be a Hall of Fame type player when it's all said and done. So I'll say he's closer to that Hall of Fame bust in Ken than he is being an NFL draft bust for one Abdul Carter.
And number 4, we have Will Campbell.
I'm going to go Hall of Fame bust. I know there's a lot of talk, Jack, about his short arms, his alligator arms.
Right.
But look at the production, number 1. In his last 30 games at LSU, he allowed a grand total of 1 sack. Guy who played in the SEC, who played in some big-time games, allowed just 1 sack over the last 30 games. That's impressive. And what I also love about Will Campbell, his mindset. I want you to listen to this. This is from last year at LSU. This is his mindset going to every single game. Take a listen.
One thing we live by in the O-line room, a D lineman get 1 sack a game, and that's the only thing he can do. 12 games, he'll be a top 5 pick. You give up 1 sack a game for 12 games, you're going to work at Amazon. Nothing wrong with that, but whenever we're here, this is what we're striving for.
I love that. Like, that's a guy who literally said, I'm going to die in the field protecting Drake May. I think he has the right mindset. I think he's consistent enough and played at a high enough level in the best conference or one of the best conferences in college football. I feel good about his transition to the NFL being a smooth one. Small arms be damned. I'll say Hall of Fame bust here for Will Campbell. Last one we got, Jack. Who is it?
We have Mason Graham.
I'm also going to say Hall of Fame bust. I think he's a legit talent. Again, the Browns went from 2 to 5, missing out on Travis Hunter, who's an absolute stud, top 2 player in this draft. But I still think they got one of the elite 5 guys in this draft. Mason Graham is a player who was, I think, the anchor of that defensive line for Michigan in 2023 that won the national title. And you look at the defensive line, there's a lot of talent there. And they lost a lot, Michigan did, from 2023 to 2024. And even though they lost so much talent and experience, especially on defense, last year, Graham got better. He was an overall better player, more disruptive. So even though there wasn't great talent around him, he still was elite. So that, I think, is exciting when you look at now his growth, what he does going to the next level. And especially now, it's going to help him a lot when there's going to be so much attention paid to Myles Garrett every single play that in the interior, I think he'll get a lot of one-on-one matchups. He's going to be great in Cleveland. So when we're looking at either, which kind of bust will Mason Graham be, I'm going to say Hall of Fame bust in Ken versus NFL draft bust. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. When we do return, I want to get your thoughts here. We still are talking the slide of Shedeur Sanders. Is it warranted in your opinion? We'll still discuss some more draft takeaways as well. And also, I do want to mention here, as the Lakers lost earlier today, they're now down 3-1 to the Wolves. That series is all but over. Are the refs to blame? Did the Lakers get screwed by the refs today? I'll give you that answer, as it is Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network after we get this latest sports update from Peter Schwartz.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And this report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. NBA playoffs after 3 quarters. Pacers lead the Bucks in Game 4, 101-84. In that game, Damian Lillard left in the first quarter. The Bucks reportedly fear that he has suffered a left Achilles tear. Now to Orlando.
Banchero launches a 3. It's no good. Jaylen Brown's got the rebound. Orlando will not foul. 2 years ago, the Celtics went to Atlanta and won Game 4 to take a 3-1 lead. Last year, they went to Miami and won Game 4 to take a 3-1 lead. Tonight, the third time is the charm, and the Celtics will go back to Boston trying to close it out on Tuesday night. They take a 3-1 lead. Again, they beat the Orlando Magic.
Sean Grande on Celtics Radio. Celtics over the Magic 107-98 in Game 4. Jason Tatum, 37 points. T-Wolves beat the Lakers 116-113. Anthony Edwards, 43 points. The T-Wolves up 3-1. Knicks go up 3-1 on the Pistons. They win Game 4, 94-93. Now to the NHL. Game 4 after 2 periods. Kings lead the Oilers 3-1. Now to St. Louis.
Favors down low. Parayko centering, and it's blocked. He scored! Brayden Schenn! The pass from Parayko blocked off the stick of Hellebuck. Schenn stayed with it. Puts it in. 3-1, St. Louis.
Chris Kerber, Blues Radio. Blues over the Jets 5-1. They tie the series 2-2. Hurricanes beat the Devils 5-2. Carolina up 3-1. Caps over the Canadiens 5-2. The Caps up 3-1. Now to baseball in 10. The Phillies beat the Cubs 3-1. The Yankees sweep the Blue Jays 11-2 and 5-1. Football Commanders reportedly reached an agreement to build a new stadium on the site of RFK Stadium, where the franchise played from 1961 to 1996. I'm Peter Schwartz.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
I gotta be honest. I'm playing hurt today. I don't know what happened, but I was at the gym earlier this morning. Something just a light gym session here. I went for like a quick run on the treadmill just to get the blood flowing. Did a little stretching. Like, all right, I'm going to sit in the sauna for 20 minutes, get a little sweat going, and then get home to watch Knicks Pistons starting at 1 o'clock Eastern. And as I'm stretching, doing some leg kicks, laying on my back, just getting the old leg stretched out because I don't really do it enough, just trying to remain flexible, all of a sudden I feel my lower back lock up. And somehow I go to the gym as like preventative to like loosen up, to just feel better. And now I'm leaving like hobbled. I can barely walk. I'm literally walking like an old man, where I'm shuffling my feet. I'm walking way slower. I'm someone who just constantly walks fast. I cannot walk slow. I hate walking behind slow people. It's just in me just to walk as fast as I can at all times for no other reason than just to get to wherever I'm going as fast as possible. And now I'm like walking at half my speed. I can barely sit all day. I couldn't find a comfortable place. Actually, these chairs here in the studio are very supportive. I actually might have to take one of these home because my couch is not very supportive. They're like wooden chairs. They're not very comfortable. So all day I was trying to figure out how the hell to be comfortable. If you're watching on the stream, which you should be anyway, but if you are unaware, we stream the show every single Sunday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, right on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. So go check it out, like, subscribe, and you can watch this show every single Sunday night. And I'm wincing. Maybe you could tell when I sit down, it's like, oh, I am officially washed up. This sucks. There is, honestly, I don't think anything worse than lower back pain because it just, everything else is debilitating. Nothing you can do. Opening the studio door, walking, sitting down, everything hurts. Nothing is easy. It's constant pain. I don't really like to take Tylenol unless I really, have to. So I haven't really taken anything like that. I'm trying to just grin and bear it. I'm playing hurt today. I feel like one of those athletes, that suffers an injury. You're gutting it through. It's playoff time. Everyone's hurt, and you're just trying to push through as much as you can, even though my body's not on the line. That's how I feel. Boy, is your boy hurting. Oh man. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. We'll get your thoughts here on, or give you my thoughts, I should say, on the Lakers now basically having this, with losing today to the Wolves. But I want to continue to get your thoughts here first about Shedeur and his slide as he kind of fell out of, he fell out of day number 1, day number 2, now ended up getting drafted in the 5th round. Also, I want to get your thoughts on who the best quarterback will end up being in this draft class. I do think when we look back 10 years from now, it will be Cam Ward, but I think the second best quarterback in this draft class, I think will be Will Howard. I like his intangibles. He's resilient. He plays well in the big moments. I think he's in a good landing spot in Pittsburgh. Do not be surprised if Will Howard's like Dak Prescott 2.0 in 10 years from now, we're looking back and saying, Will Howard, underrated pick of this draft. 888-710-4ISN. Let's go to Niagara Falls and talk to Glenn. What's up, Glenn?
Hey, Ryan. How you doing, my man? What's up for your back? I know you're not doing well with the back.
We're trying to push through, Glenn. We're trying.
Not much time left, brother. You'll make it. You'll make it. Make sure you stretch, though, before you exercise. Hopefully you did that.
That's what I do. That's what I was trying to do, Glenn. I was stretching as preventative. All of a sudden, I was stretching. Now I hurt myself.
Well, I hope you feel take an Advil, loosen up the muscles. Anyways, I do want to jump in here. First off, all the people are saying this is like Colin Kaepernick 2.0, whatever they're calling it. Let me correct that right away. First off, and you nailed it dead on, but first off, that was a totally different situation. That was very political in nature. It was a black mark on the NFL, but we're talking something totally different.
Right.
We are talking a quarterback-driven league, and if Shedeur was all that, do you think any general manager, coach, would jeopardize their own career by saying, oh, no, we can't deal with this guy because, who his dad is, it's going to be too much of a headache. If he had the skill set, there's no way he would not be picked. And you said the same thing, but that's the bottom. And the only thing you can say is the fact that every radio sports talk show has been talking about this for hours since he wasn't picked in the first round tells you enough about the sideshow that would be with him. So that part probably is real, unfair to him. But at the end of the day, if he was as good as everyone thinks he is, and I'm one of these guys that doesn't, he would be picked. That's the bottom line.
Totally agree.
In terms of a quarterback that no one's going to think of, and yes, it's a homer pick, but I did watch him all year with Indiana. And he's in the perfect situation because he's going to San Fran, which has been a quarterback factory. He's playing behind Brock, which who else is behind Brock? And if you watch, obviously the rest of your listeners didn't watch him as much as I did. I've never seen anybody in years.
Everyone knows. We're talking about Curtis Rourke of Indiana going to the 49ers.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned Curtis Rourke. The way that guy could throw the back shoulder pass with so much accuracy, I was stunned. I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy's Canadian, and man, does he have touching the ball? He does have the Achilles injury. He played. You got to remember too. I think he threw 26 touchdowns, very few interceptions, and he was playing the whole season with a torn ACL.
Yep.
Now he has that surgery, and of course there's risk. And when he was starting to not play as well at the end of the season, he had injured his thumb. But he went number 9 in the Heisman voting, and he put up huge numbers. And again, I view him, and when he played in Ohio the year before, he would run. Well, clearly with his ACL injury, he couldn't run last year. But I'm telling you, he's going to be a sleeper no one's going to think about. He's in a great system in San Francisco. Really, one guy ahead of him. I mean, they have some other quarterbacks too, but I think he could be a real dark horse, and that boy can play.
I
and
hear
I do
you,
like
Glenn.
your
I
pick,
agree
but-
with a lot of what you say. I like Curtis Rourke a lot. I think he's really talented. I appreciate the call. In terms of like calling him, one of the best quarterbacks in this draft class, like when we look back on it, the problem for him is, while he's in a great system in San Francisco, he's not going to play. I like Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. Clearly, the 49ers do. Every report that you see out there is that they are very close on an extension. Unless, God forbid, Brock Purdy gets hurt, I don't know when Curtis Rourke is going to see the field. And so you got to play in order to be considered good or to look back on it. I agree with everything you said. He's a seasoned passer. He's got good accuracy. I think he makes quick decisions. He'll be healthier, more mobile now that he'll have his knee injury cleaned up. But you got to play. And he's not going to play in San Francisco, at least anywhere enough to where he's going to, be considered that. He's got to go somewhere else now. Maybe he can learn under Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, take that somewhere else and translate it and play better and stop number 2. But he will not be San Francisco's quarterback long term. That will be one Brock Purdy. 888-710-4ISN. Let's go to Boomer calling from Sacramento. What's up, Boomer?
What up, my G? Hey, stretch out that sciatica, my boy.
I know. I will say my left hamstring's tight.
Yeah, and I feel you on that. But I got to disagree with you on your other take. You're saying that the Las Vegas Raiders got the worst pick in the draft. Come on, Genty is a stud. He's going to be a stud. Along with the other picks they had, Beck, I mean, come on. You have to why let me hear why you say that Genty's a bust.
Because he has no one to block for him. Boomer, what holes is he running through?
No one. Okay, all right. Okay, so you're going to say that, but they have their offensive lineman who's holding out, but they're going to sign him.
Who's that, Colton Miller?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How did he play last year?
He actually is one of the top offensive linemen, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know about that. I would disagree with that, Boomer. I would not call Colton Miller one of the top guys.
You're telling me that. So you're telling me that that pick is what you're saying is a bust.
Yes, I don't think the player's a bust. I think the situation for him is a bust, where Ashton Genty's full potential will not be recognized because this is a guy who's playing behind the worst run blocking offensive line in the league.
It's not the worst. It's not the worst.
They were last in rushing yards last year. I get, okay, fine. He's better than any running back you had last year.
Okay,
but still,
thank you.
We're talking about marginal improvement.
Hey,
it's still, I think, offensive line, Boomer, matters more than running back.
I'm sorry. Okay, but what about when we had Josh Jacobs? What's the difference now?
I think the line got worse from 2 years ago. That's the difference.
Barely. So what I'm trying to tell you is, okay, so we got him, we got Beck, and I think we're improving, and you're trying to just throw dirt on top of us. So I don't think that's right.
I'm calling as I see it. Boomer, I've loved everything up to the draft of what the Raiders are doing. I thought the Pete Carroll hire is exactly what they needed, and I loved it. I like the Geno Smith trade because that's exactly what they needed, and they recognize the situation that
was
in.
The best quarterback available. Of course, that was the best quarterback available. So
yes, I agree. And they didn't tie themselves to a quarterback in a bad draft class. They didn't overextend themselves. The issue I have, again, is the line, and the other issue I have, Boomer, is the value. I think the Raiders could have gotten similar value from a running back in round 2, 3, or 4. I don't think using the number 6 overall pick in a draft that lacks elite talent.
Okay, so you're telling me that quarterback, that running back was not the best running back available?
No, he is the best running back available. What I'm saying is the running back position, the gap between
where is the hate coming from?
The hate it's not hate. I'm saying I think the gap between 1 and 4, let's just say Ashton Genty and Cam Scadaboo, I don't think is that wide. I don't think it's Ashton Genty, the Ocean, and then Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins. I think this is a very deep running back draft. I think you could have gotten more value by drafting a offensive lineman at 6, and then in maybe round 2 or round 3, drafting a running back. Then that would have been my strategy.
Do you understand what you're saying right now? Because if you're
I know exactly what I'm saying.
If we would not got a running back and we got our offensive lineman, then you would be hating them because we got an offensive lineman, not a running back.
I would not be hating because the Raiders are not a running back away from winning anything. I think building your offensive line and getting a foundation.
How about Brock Bowers?
Boomer. The Raiders right now are in a transition. They are in a building phase, and I got to run because we're at the end of the hour, so I apologize for cutting it off, but I have no choice. You hear the music. The Raiders right now are not a playoff team in 2025. They are building towards it, I think, with their eye on 2027, maybe 2028. Build towards it. I don't think a running back right now in 2025 with pick 6 gets you closer to where they're looking down the line. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Hour. We'll continue to talk NFL draft, and when we return, how much blame does Deion Sanders deserve for Shedeur's fall? We'll discuss.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Looking for a man after midnight? You've come to the right place. It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on into Hick at Night. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Thank you for making us a part of your weekend. If you missed any part of the show so far, we talked a lot of NFL draft reaction, Shedeur Sanders' fall, teams and moves I really liked, teams and moves I really disliked here, and the draft as well, who the best quarterback will be. When we look back at this draft class 10 years from now, a lot of fun draft talk so far from the first 2 hours of the show. Check out the Hick at Night podcast feed, Night spelled N-I-T-E, available wherever you do get your pods. That's how you can catch up on anything you may have missed so far through the first 2 hours. Also, you can check out my YouTube channel. Check it out, Ryan Hickey. Just search the name on YouTube, and that is where you can find some videos from this show as well. All right, so the big story of the weekend, right, is the fall, the slide of Shedeur Sanders from number 3 all the way to pick 144 in round number 5, and the Browns mercifully stopped the slide and drafted Shedeur. And I think when you look back at the drop, and the reasons for the slide of Shedeur Sanders, the shocking slide of one Shedeur Sanders, I think Deion Sanders is partly blamed for it. I think he deserves some of the blame for why his son slid so far in the draft for 2 reasons. Number 1, I think he gave his son bad advice on how to handle himself. Look at how Shedeur approached this entire draft process. He thought he was better than teams. He didn't approach interviews with other teams seriously. He tried to dictate the terms and almost think he was the one in position of power instead of the other way around, instead of it being the coaches and the GMs that were the ones that he had to impress. He thought he was going to go in there and tell them what was going to be done, and that he essentially thought he was bigger than the NFL. And while that is on Shedeur, I'm not saying he's blameless here. I think he's still mostly to blame. But with that said, I'm assuming that mindset was first instilled into him by his father. Because if anything, right, if Deion did not instill that, I would have assumed Deion would have said, hey, knock it off. I've been here before, you haven't. This is not how you make a good first impression with a team you're trying to impress, by not studying the plays they give you before a meeting, by going in there nonchalant thinking you're better than the team. I mean, listen to this from Tom Pelissero. This was on Saturday morning on the NFL Network before Shedeur was drafted. He was answering as to why Shedeur slipped out of both day 1 and day 2 of the draft. Listen to the intel NFL Network reporter Tom Pelissero got.
Throughout the pre-draft process, Shedeur Sanders very much proceeded as if he was dictating to clubs where he was going to go, rather than how the draft works, which is the other way around. And there were a bunch of opportunities missed at the various checkpoints through that pre-draft process. Go all the way back to All-Star season. Instead of going to the Senior Bowl, he went to the East-West Shrine Bowl in his backyard in Dallas. Despite an NFL memo saying if you go to these All-Star games, you have to practice, Shedeur chose not to. At the Combine, it is now well documented some of his formal interviews did not go well. One assistant coach told me in all his years it was the worst formal interview he'd ever been through. All of which is to say, for a player who had a variety of questions both about the talent level, how he would fit into an NFL system, how he would adjust from his play style in college, but also about the potential culture shock of, for the first time, playing for someone who is not his father, There were opportunities that Shedeur Sanders could have taken there. He seemed to feel as if he was in an elite category where he could choose the few teams he wanted to go to.
And where does that come from? Where does that attitude come from? It obviously starts at the top with Deion. That attitude right there that Shedeur had, that he carried himself with, I think single-handedly tanked his draft stock. His talent didn't warrant teams taking a chance and wanting to deal with that, all of that comes along with it. They didn't think he was good enough to warrant it. But that attitude that I think in part instilled by his dad was a big reason why we saw Shedeur last until round number 5. That's reason number one why I think Deion Sanders absolutely partly is to blame for Shedeur's tanking draft stock. The other thing, the second reason is, I think Deion single-handedly turned teams away by his perceived influence with his son. What Deion essentially was, for any parent out there, especially a parent with a high school kid, high school athlete especially, Deion essentially was that annoying, overbearing high school parent that was bitching to other parents and bitching to the coach about why his son doesn't play more and how he should be starting over so-and-so. You know, Johnny and Freddie aren't good enough. Why is my son not playing over them? And talking to the coach about why his son deserves more playing time. Deion essentially was that overbearing high school sports parent in college and now even entering the NFL level. Because it wasn't just enough for Deion to brag about how good his son was. It was also now, Shedeur, as he gets ready for the NFL, well, he's not only going to go to the NFL and be a top pick, but he's only going to go to the teams that I think are worthy enough to draft him. He's only going to go to teams in situations that I truly believe are good for him. And if you're not good enough, don't even bother talking to him. You are not worthy. Listen to this from Deion Sanders. About last year, he was on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. Listen to how he talked about listen to how he talked about Shedeur's draft process.
Predict Shedeur and Travis going in the draft.
Top 4.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
Anywhere from 1 through 4. Now, all this is subjective because I know where I want them to go.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not forget shallow, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I know where I want them to go. So there's certain cities that ain't gonna happen.
Okay, you on point.
It's gonna be it's gonna be an Eli.
Certain cities, no go. If you are not good enough in my eyes to coach my son, he ain't going. He thought he could pull a power play. Teams listen to that. They see that. And they go, is it worth it? And guess what? 99% of teams said, before the Browns eventually said, yes. 99% of teams said, no, not worth it. We don't want to deal with that. Whether it's Deion thinking he had more power than he did, or it's the looming threats hanging over Shedeur of, hey, if whatever team drafts him, if things don't go well, Deion's going to try to coach the team. Deion has the biggest microphone in college football. He's going to criticize the coach, criticize the organization if things are not going as he wants it to go. If he doesn't believe Shedeur is getting coached the way he thinks Shedeur should be coached. And team said, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with an overbearing parent that now has the biggest microphone in college football. No, thank you. So that's why I think you saw a lot of teams say, I'm going to stay away from Shedeur. It's in part because of Deion. Because they don't want to deal with what comes with that. They don't want to deal with his criticism. They don't want to deal with Shedeur's attitude. They don't want to deal with the looming questions and media buzz that inevitably will be circling anything about Shedeur, where if he struggles, if the Browns struggle, if the coach struggles, well, should Deion just come coach his son? Should Deion come in and save the day? He's talked about it before openly. He went from, I would never be an NFL coach, I don't translate to, I'll be an NFL coach if I can coach my son. Yeah, I would consider coaching Shedeur. I coach in the NFL if I can coach him. That, I think, scared teams away. So when we sit here and look at the shocking slip of Shedeur Sanders going from what some people said 2 months ago, number 1 overall, to the 5th round, Deion is partly to blame for it. Deion is part of the reason why Shedeur slid so far. Because teams did not want to sign up for the Deion experience. and all that entails, all that comes with it. You could talk about being Eli Manning, and we heard Deion just reference that he could pull an Eli with his son and say, no, thank you, we're not going to so-and-so team. The difference is Eli is actually talented and good, and clearly that worked out. Shedeur's not. Shedeur's not projected to be a talented quarterback. He's not projected to be a franchise guy. He's not projected to be someone who could take a team to the playoffs consistently, let alone win a Super Bowl, let alone win 2 Super Bowls like Eli Manning did. The talent is not worth it. So Shedeur is to blame for sure. But I think the attitude he carried himself with, instilled by his dad, along with Deion threatening teams and thinking he's basically bigger than the NFL and he's going to tell other NFL teams what to do, those are part of the reasons why we saw Shedeur slide as far as he did. Deion is absolutely to blame for his son's free fall that we saw over the weekend in the NFL draft. 888-710-4ISM. 888-710-4ISN. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. How much is Deion to blame? How much is Deion to blame for his son's fall in the NFL draft? 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. Also can tweet me if you can't call. No worries. We're there on Twitter, Ryan_Hickey3. And also right in the chat on YouTube, Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. Let's go all the way out to beautiful San Diego and talk with Robert. What's up, Robert?
Hey, how you doing tonight?
Good, buddy. What's on your mind, man?
Okay, well, you said earlier about someone calling if you had a business, or how would you approach this if you were one of the owners. So I would like to give a few statements, if you don't mind, concerning the high ROI from a fan product perspective and not the owner's perspective.
Sorry, from what perspective, Robbie? You want to look at this from a fan perspective?
From a fan perspective, okay. Yes, because if I'm the owner of a business and my customers are my fans, I'm trying to make my fans happy, not my managers and all that kind of stuff happy. We're there to make our customers happy.
Right.
Now, NFL is an entertainment product. It is not saving the world on anything crisis. It's an entertainment that allows humans to get together to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're getting all these callers and everybody's all upset about Shedeur being not treated properly, well, you're hurting a product that could be exploited from a fan perspective on these kind of profit factors, right? He's got 250,000 subscribers on his own, right? And that's 250,000 potential customers to sell jerseys and other accessories to, right?
Mm-hmm.
He also has young fans that follow him, and now they will end up following the team. And sure, they might end up falling in love with other players.
Right.
Now, how many players got their jerseys retired less than 90 days after they played their season? Right? This validates the kind of man he really is. People that know him.
Robert, do you know anybody that actually said this is the right move? I didn't see one person say they agree with this.
Agree with
Shedeur getting his jersey retired. Colorado got clowned for it.
Oh. Well, that's just because you guys just look on the outside instead of being on the inside of the family, seeing what they saw. That's all. That's what I see. I can understand how the flashiness, but that's his product. That's his product. His 250,000 subscribers.
I hear what you're saying from a business perspective, Robert. Let me ask you this question. If you don't know, it's okay. Do you know the most valuable franchise right now in the NFL?
Dallas.
Right. Nailed it. Perfect. Cowboys. Would you agree that Jerry Jones runs the Cowboys like an entertainment first product, like you're saying?
Just like it.
I agree. How many fans of the Dallas Cowboys are happy with the way Jerry Jones runs the organization?
Okay. The fans aren't happy with Jerry Jones, but we're talking about a person, a character in this entertainment product that is probably needs to start leaving the show. This is a new character that's getting introduced into the product that is a good guy. And when I say good guy, I mean he's not a criminal like the other.
Right. Agreed.
Going in. So that we want our youth, especially from all of our ghettos, to have this guy being a positive leader too. He doesn't have to be a first string quarterback. He could be a second or third string quarterback and still be a great leader while he's learning to develop.
Robert,
and then
Here's the reality. Here's the reality, because we can go on for this for a while. I just want to cut to the chase here. The reality is twofold. Number one, people only care about your leadership if you're good. No one has ever talked with the leadership about a backup or third string quarterback. If you play, people care. If you don't, this is the reality. No one does. We've never talked to one backup quarterback on the show. There's no reason to. Nobody cares.
What about Tim Tebow? Tim Tebow got a lot of fans from his side of the world to football, and a lot of people follow him.
Tim Tebow's in the league for 2 years.
I'm sorry?
Tim Tebow, actually, that's a perfect example. NFL teams, right? They run NFL teams are built to win. That's the best. And I got to let you go, Robert. I appreciate the back and forth. The best business for teams is winning. Period. Stop. You want to talk about money? The best way to make money, make the fans happy, is by winning. You win, fans buy more tickets to games. Fans buy more merchandise. Fans are watching your games more. Look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs draft Patrick Mahomes. They start winning. They are one of the most popular and profitable franchises in all of football because they win. You could talk about Shedeur Sanders from a business perspective, what he brings, the attention he brings, the subscribers, growing the game, blah, 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 blah. Fans don't care, Robert. Fans do not care if Shedeur Sanders can help grow the game or not, which is why fans don't care, for the most part, about international games. I don't know many fans thrilled that their team is playing in Mexico or London or Germany or Australia soon or Asia, whatever it may be. That's making the NFL money. Fans don't care about the business of the sport. All fans care about is winning games. Does Shedeur Sanders help you win more games or not? And for 99% of NFL franchises, they said Shedeur does not help us win games the way we would want him to. So we don't care about the subscribers. We don't care about the attention because guess what? That attention works both ways, good and bad. Negative attention is not good. And if you have Shedeur struggling, and a lot of his fans now are getting on the team, getting on the coach, getting on the owner for screwing Shedeur, that is bad for business. Teams want to win. That is the best way to grow your product, the best way to make money. Simple as that. Fans don't care about how much owners make, which is why every single Cowboys fan wants Jerry Jones removed as GM and owner. Because Jerry thinks about it from an entertainment perspective first, does not put winning first. And that's why the Cowboys haven't won in 30 years, and that's why Cowboys fans are sick of him. Sick of him. Most profitable team in all of football, and nobody, rightfully so, cares. Why should I make, Robert, why should you make, why should any listener right now to the show care about how much money an owner makes or what's good for business? All we care about is winning. That's all we want. And that's why I think you saw so many teams, and I think rightfully so, owners that are focused on winning first. And again, if Shedeur had the talent of Jaden Daniels, are we talking about Shedeur sliding to the 5th round? If Jaden Daniels had the attitude of Shedeur Sanders, would the Commanders be looking to trade him after year 1 with what we saw? Teams put up with a lot of crap if you win, if you produce. Teams did the math and said, this guy does not produce at a level that warrants dealing with all the headaches and drama that he brings along with him. That is a simplest math equation and the simplest way to explain his slide. Period. Stop. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Here's what we'll do. We'll take a break. Want to get your thoughts still on the slide. How much is Deion to blame for Shedeur's slide to round number 5? And also, you see this video today? Bill Belichick was on CBS Mornings, what was supposed to be a puff piece about the winningest head coach in NFL history now taking a stab at college. And what was supposed to be a puff piece turned cringe. If you haven't heard why, we'll explain why, and I'll give you my reaction to whether Bill Belichick is making a big mistake in dating his current girlfriend. We'll break that all down when we do return. It is Hick at Night. Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break.
5 minute break.
4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night. Here's Ryan Hickey.
A fitting rejoin here by Jack Hardy. No control. Because that seemingly right now can aptly describe Bill Belichick's life. He has no control of his own life because it is being now fully controlled by his 24-year-old girlfriend and one Jordan Hudson. So in case you missed it, because I missed it here, and thankfully social media was the one who alerted me to this and I was able to catch up on it, CBS Mornings today aired an interview that they did with Bill Belichick. And it was supposed to be a puff piece, right? Highlighting Bill's move to North Carolina and going from the NFL to college and all that he's accomplished. They touched on his exit from New England. And then all of a sudden, they started talking about his relationship, right? Which is a very fair question. A lot of people have questions about Bill Belichick at 73, dating a 24-year-old woman that she is. And, you know, her involvement and what their relationship is, yada, 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 right? There's a lot of questions we all have them. Everyone's curious about what the hell they talk about, et cetera. We'll leave, et cetera. So CBS Mornings, I want you to listen to this first, then we'll kind of react to it because a lot of people are questioning and are basically commenting about how cringy right now this relationship is between Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson. So listen to this little snippet here from CBS Mornings as they try to broach the topic of the relationship of Bill Belichick and his new girlfriend. Take a listen.
The other change for Belichick is 24-year-old Jordan Hudson, his creative muse, as he writes in his book.
Make sure that's the...
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on.
So just to also set the scene here as well, Bill is being interviewed one-on-one. Jordan is off to the side, like sitting behind some production camera, off camera. It's not like they're sitting together. You heard her say, we're not talking about that. She chimed in from the corner. Almost like a PR publicist. We're not talking about that next question. She's not being interviewed. The question wasn't to her. She chimed in and told Bill, next question, we're not talking about this. Don't even bother asking. So a lot of people, right, saw this and reacted to it. A lot of people are saying, what is Bill doing? Bill blinked twice, you know, if you're okay sort of thing. Like a lot of people were calling this a cringy relationship as Bill seemingly is getting controlled by this girl that no one heard of 2 months ago. And so, well, a lot of people I saw at least commenting today about it thought it was weird, thought it was uncomfortable. I actually don't think it's weird. And here, let me explain why. I don't think their relationship is weird because I think Bill Belichick is getting exactly what he wants. And Jordan Hudson being controlling to the point of stepping in during an interview to say, we're not talking about certain things. I think that is exactly what Bill is looking for. He wants someone to control everything in his life so that his only focus can be football. I think that is Bill's ideal world. Someone else deal with all the BS, everything else that we have to deal with in life so that all I can focus on, all I can worry about is football and making my guys better. I think in a sick way, that's what Bill wants. I think Bill wants to be controlled in every aspect of his life that does not pertain to football because you know what that means? It's one less thing he has to worry about, which means he has more brain power, more brain time to think about football. His girlfriend, right, is his manager, is his receptionist, his schedule maker. I'm sure his maybe not therapist. I don't see Bill opening up to anybody. But like she handles all the minutia, right, of Bill Belichick's life and what comes with it. Probably cooks dinner, probably answers his emails, probably reads his mail. You know, all the mundane stuff, probably does his taxes. Like all the stuff nobody actually wants to do. I think Bill wants her to do. And I think she seems like someone who does not mind, let's say, calling the shots and being in control. I'm sure she feels important. by being able to say, hey, Bill, this is what your schedule says, or sorry, we're not doing this. He's not answering that question. He's only answering this one. I think this is a mutual beneficial relationship where Bill does not have to worry about anything but football. Everything outside of football is taken care of. And his girlfriend gets to feel important, like she is, having some power with one of the most influential football coaches of all time. That's why I don't think it's weird. I think Bill wants this. He wants to be controlled. Because in his mind, again, I think everything that's not about football only takes time away from football. I don't think he wants an escape. I don't think he wants to deal with anything and everything that we deal with outside of, our 9-to-5 jobs. I don't think it's weird. I don't at all. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. We talked top of the hour here how much Deion is to blame. I think Deion is partly to blame for Shedeur's slide to the fifth round, because I think when you kind of look at the attitude Shedeur had towards the draft process, I think it was instilled by his father. And I think when you have your dad talking so openly about how he's going to only force his way to certain teams, most teams are not going to be worthy enough to draft his son. The looming thought of could Deion try to make a power play to coach now his son and get the head coach fired? I think that was partly, not mostly, but partly a reason why most teams said, we're good, no thank you. We'll skip the Shedeur experience and everything that comes along with it. 888-710-4ISN. Darius in Seattle, some thoughts about that. What's up, Darius?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, I'm sorry. You got me when I was eating something.
What we got? Anything good?
I was going to bring up exactly the point from nachos. I was going to bring up exactly the point that you raised. First of all, Deion did bring this upon his son. That's number one.
Okay.
If Shedeur was as good as Deion thinks he is, it wouldn't have mattered. And John Elway is the perfect example of that.
Totally
right?
agree.
You made that point. You also eloquently stated, and this is something that people might not understand, is that selection of these teams, Deion knows a lot of these owners. He knows what teams he would like to coach for. And I don't think any of these coaches, I think it was self-preservation, I think any of these coaches and GMs would have been looking at this like, hey, his son comes here and things go sideways, Deion's going to be making a power play here.
Right.
So I agree with you on both points. You kind of beat me to the punch in making those points, but, just rather arrogant of them. And I also think, look, Shedeur, I've watched him. He seems slow. He's just in his regular dealings. I've watched him at basketball events. I've seen clips of him, how he deals with girls and women. He's an awkward guy. He really is. And he doesn't seem sure of himself. He doesn't seem like he's mature, and he seems a bit slow. I'm just going to say it. Mentally, he seems a bit behind. So, I know that he's not, but he seems a bit that way. He comes off that way.
I have no idea, Darius. I don't know what he's doing in school. I'm not going to go there and say that. I appreciate the call. No. I don't feel, didn't mean to cut you off, my bad. I don't feel comfortable in saying that personally. I have no idea how he interacts with the girls. For me, I would not care. If you're awkward, fine. Actually, probably better, less distractions if you're a quarterback. To each their own. I don't think game off the field translates to game on the field. Ask Johnny Manziel that. But I think when you look at how he plays, again, I think he's solid. He's fine. He can be average in the NFL. But you can't be average. You can't be Geno Smith level with all of the headaches, all of the arrogance that you bring with you. That's to me, the simplest to put it. Simplest way to put it right there. And that's why I think we saw most teams say no thanks. And honestly, looking at the Browns' reaction on social media, if you haven't seen it, please, I encourage you to look it up. I'll retweet it on my timeline here as well, Ryan_Hickey3 in the break, so you can see it if you haven't. But looking at how Andrew Berry, the Browns GM, and Kevin Stefanski, the Browns head coach, reacted when the Shedeur Sanders pick was announced, and they're sitting there clapping, and they look like they're being held hostage. That should scream to you right there. That's an owner pick. So even the team that drafted him, I think if they had the full power to make the move without an owner interference, they would not have drafted Shedeur. And I have no idea where he would have ended up. That's telling. It's also telling equally that the Raiders, a team that knows Shedeur well because of his connection with Tom Brady, had ample opportunities to draft Shedeur, bring him in, and take a chance. And they said no every single time. Brady knows the family. Brady knows, he's been training Shedeur when he was younger. Said, we're good. That is telling. That, again, should tell you all you need to know. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. Also, tweet me on Twitter, Ryan_Hickey3. Check out our chat, Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. Right in there. Watch a show. 2 for 1 right there for you. Plenty of ways to get your thoughts here heard on the show. How much is Deion to blame for Shedeur's fall? Also, do you have an issue? Most of us are skeeved out, but do you have an issue, let's say in general, with Bill Belichick's relationship after hearing that clip of his girlfriend basically controlling everything right now in Bill's life that is not football? 888-710-4ISN. We'll get your thoughts also. Now that all playoff games are final, did we just see Giannis's last game in Milwaukee as a member of the Bucks? We'll give that answer after we get this latest sports update from Peter Schwartz.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
We tip off the NBA playoffs. Pacers over the Bucks in Game 4, 129-103. Indiana up 3-1. Bucks star Damian Lillard left the game in the first quarter. The Bucks fear it's a torn Achilles. Now to Orlando.
Tatum dribbles behind his back. Attacks Banchero on the left side. Throws the shoulder into him. Tatum, step back, squares, hits. Celtics by 6, 98-92. 2:44 to go in Game 4.
Sean Grande on Celtics Radio. Celtics over the Magic 107-98. Boston up 3-1. Jason Tatum 37 points. Also T-Wolves over the Lakers 116-113. T-Wolves up 3-1. Anthony Edwards 43 points. Knicks up 3-1 on the Pistons after a 94-93 win in Game 4. Jalen Brunson with 32 points. Stanley Cup playoffs going to overtime in Game 4. Kings and Oilers are tied at 3 with the Kings up 2-1. Now to Montreal.
And Van Riemsdyk alertly will play it ahead, and Montreal is going to put Caulfield to the bench. Big line trading and heading off. Here's Mangiapane coming down the middle. He scores! Andrew Mangiapane scores from the high slot, coming into the zone. He just beat Jakub Dobeš with 3:37 to go in the third.
John Walton, Caps Radio. Caps over the Canadiens 5-2, and Washington goes up 3-1. Blues beat the Jets 5-1. That series tied at 2. Hurricanes beat the Devils 5-2. Carolina up 3-1. From the NFL, the Commanders reportedly reached an agreement to build a stadium on the side of RFK Stadium. Baseball in 10. Phillies over the Cubs 3-1. Yankees sweep the Blue Jays 11-2 and 5-1. Mariners 7, Marlins 6. Dodgers over the Pirates 9-2. Diamondbacks 6, Braves 4. The Giants over the Rangers 3-2. The A's beat the White Sox 3-2 and 10. I'm Peter Schwartz.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network. That's it. Play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Can't stop the beat, I won't stop the beat to go.
This is Hick at Night. Here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network, top of the hour. We will dive into more Shedeur's fall, why I don't fault teams at all for passing on, we'll call it the Shedeur Sanders experience. I do want to squeeze in some NBA here before we get back to your thoughts, because we had a loaded NBA playoff slate today, and we just saw one game end recently here. The Pacers take down the Bucks to take a commanding 3-1 series lead. Teams in NBA playoff history that are up 3-1 win the series 95% of the time. This series is over. Pacers are going to win it. My guess is Pacers in 5. They go back home and close out the Bucks. I think tonight we just saw the last of Giannis Antetokounmpo in a Bucks uniform. I think tonight was his last home game as a member of the Bucks. I don't see him coming back next year. Giannis has talked, and most recently he was on his brother's podcast, talk about how he desperately wants to win a second ring. That if he doesn't win ring number 2, he will feel a void in his career. So he is motivated, I would say borderline desperate, to win a second ring. And I think he knows. Everyone else knows right now, whether you want to admit it if you're a Bucks fan or not, that second ring ain't coming in Milwaukee anytime soon. Probably ain't coming to Milwaukee for the rest of his career. That team right now is busted up. They are old. They are in cap hell. They have an awful coach in Doc Rivers. They don't have, I think, the best leadership now that the owners sold, and now the new owners, the Haslams, owning the Bucks. And now, to make things worse, and I think only exacerbate Giannis's departure from Milwaukee this summer, was Damian Lillard's injury earlier today. In the first half, he went down, non-contact, grabbed his left Achilles. You had Chris Haynes report that, of Bleacher Report, that the fear, there's nothing official, but the fear initially is that that Dame, not Giannis, Dame, tore his Achilles. And so if that's the case, and that fears, those fears become true, now we're looking at Dame out for basically all of next year. We see how bad this team is without Dame. We see how bad this team is in general with Dame and Giannis on it, how far away they are from a title. Now when you don't have cap flexibility to make any moves, a championship's not coming. I can absolutely see now, if this fear becomes a reality of Dame tearing his Achilles, that Giannis has already played his last home game as a member of the Bucks. We're going to see Giannis on a new team next year. But Doc Rivers just post-game minutes ago gave us an update, his thoughts on Dame's injury. Take a listen to the Bucks head coach.
They're going to do an image tomorrow. Obviously, his lower leg. And just being honest, it's not very promising. I knew it right away. Yeah. I feel bad for him. The guy tried to come back for his team, and, I just feel bad for him.
It's tough. It's really tough. A guy who, by the way, came back from blood clots to be able just to play in this series after missing game 1 and missing the last few weeks of the regular season. Your heart goes out to him. One of those fun players. Love Dame. Want to see him get a ring on his finger. I think he's one of the players that deserves it. I think he plays the game the right way. Not going to happen this year. Not going to happen next year, this injury. And now all of a sudden, I think we're going to see kind of the tearing down of the Bucks, the dismantling, before they build it back up. But I think the way this roster is built, the way this series is going, and now when you see Dame's injury probably come to reality, when we officially learn he tears his Achilles, it's good to me going to equal a Giannis departure this summer. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. Bucks not the only team right now on the brink. Another team also on the brink of elimination, the Los Angeles Lakers, who blew a fourth quarter lead. Your best players in Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves were a complete no-show in the fourth quarter. And now the Lakers on the brink of elimination, down 3-1, going back home for a game number 5 again, where teams leading, 3-1, close out that series 95% of the time. That series is done. Lakers are toast. This is a bad matchup for them. They don't have the size to do so. One thing I do not want to hear Lakers fans, Lakers players say is blaming the officials, saying they lost because of the officiating screwing them. JJ Redick, post-game, wasted no time in saying the refs, they screwed us.
What was your vantage point on the inbound that was a turnover?
Well, let's just start with Luka got tripped. I mean, that was a blatant trip. He doesn't just fall on his own. We watched it. He gets tripped. So we should have been at the free throw line. That's not an excuse for why we lost, but we got fouled.
I disagree. The play he's talking about was with 30 seconds left, Luka taking it up the court. He stepped on Jaden McDaniels' foot. I thought it was a step, like an innocent you're running, step on his foot, you fall down. I don't think it was a foul. I think the refs were right in swallowing the whistle. The refs didn't lose you the game. Again, if you're the Lakers, you lost this game because you don't have the size and the rebounding to match up with Minnesota consistently, and your best players did not come through to close out a game, which you had to lead in the fourth quarter. You're up by 9. You got LeBron. You got Luka. That should be curtains. And instead, you saw LeBron, who was abysmal in the fourth quarter, have 0 points, a brutal turnover that really sealed most hope for a Lakers comeback. It was just 1 of 6 from the field, Luka was. Doncic, that is. So your 3 best players in Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves combined for 13 points in the fourth quarter on 3 of 15 shooting. You're not going to get it done. The Lakers are not built to win games, and their 3 best players, but really their 2 best players in LeBron and Luka, aren't consistently playing at a high level. That's the problem. I mean, the depth right there in the substitution patterns highlighted it. First time I saw this in postseason history, that no subs were made by the Lakers in the second half. Never happened before in a playoff game. They played all 5 players. Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron, Luka played the entirety of the second half. Not one was subbed out for 1 second. First time that's happened in NBA postseason history. The reason why there was no subs was because the bench stinks. There's no depth. There's no reliable player coming off the bench. There's really no reliable player even just outside of Luka right now and LeBron scoring-wise. Reeves has been a little bit of a disappointment here this postseason. Look, the good news is for the Lakers, they're going to get better. This is the worst roster they're going to have with Luka and LeBron. They're going to get a better shot next year than they do this year. I thought they could make a run to the Western Conference Finals. I underestimated the Wolves, shame on me. But now the Lakers are going to be one and done in the postseason. For the strong finish they had with LeBron and Luka, they are going to be one and done. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. Quentin is calling from San Diego. What's up, Quentin?
Hey, man. Big time Lakers fan. It's really a struggle seeing us go down like this in the series. But going home in Game 5, I really think we can hopefully win that game and bring back the series. I think we still have a chance. Honestly, I mean that's just as a Lakers fan. But with LeBron,
though, Quentin, you watch some of these games. You see the issues that they have. You see the lack of depth. You see the lack of size. Where Jackson Hayes today played your quote unquote center plays 4 minutes. He got 2 quick fouls. Yeah. Redick subbed him out. Did not come back after the first quarter. And now you're looking at a lineup where LeBron is your biggest guy on the floor. It's problematic, Quentin.
Yeah. No, definitely problematic, but LeBron historically has done big things. I know he's older. I know he's getting older, but I still think he can pull some LeBron magic, I really don't think that it's just going to go down like that. I mean, you saw what LeBron did when he went down 3-1 before, right? I mean, in the finals, he came back against the Warriors. He did it.
Right,
so.
a decade ago. You're right about that.
Yeah,
Quinn,
I know.
Here's what I'll say, Quinn. Don't hold your breath. Right? I think this series is over. But the optimistic thing going forward, and appreciate the call, is this is the worst roster I think you'll have in terms of... I think this is the worst roster that Luka will have in his Lakers tenure. Because, again, you look at it, right? The only other reliable scorer you have is LeBron. Right now in the postseason, they have no size whatsoever, and they have no depth. That will improve. When you have a full offseason and make some moves, move some money around, identify players, they're going to build this roster in the eye of Luka, build it around him, accentuate his strengths. We saw in Dallas, right, what helped get them to the finals last year. He loves lobbing it to big men. Driving down, throwing up the old lob, and having, Gafford or Lively slam it down. He benefits with a productive big man. Jackson Hayes is not productive at all. He will not be on this roster next year. And if he is, he's going to be a backup role playing the same amount of minutes he plays now, but instead of starting, he's going to come off the bench. This roster will be better equipped for a deeper playoff run next year. So that's at least the good news. If you're a Lakers fan, this is disappointing with how this season's going to end this year, but there is optimism to believe things will get better. You're not like the Bucks where you're screwed and you're stuck. You're in a good spot to adjust and get better here as we go on. 888-710-4ISM. 888-710-4ISM. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. When we return, why I agree with most NFL teams passing on Shedeur Sanders. I'll explain why when Hick At Nite returns on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. ...15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's up all night with you.
We could do this all night.
Welcome aboard. It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on into Hick at Night. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. A happy Monday. I know those words are always tough to hear, but still, nonetheless, we're going to have a positive attitude here on the show. A happy Monday to you. Happy Sunday to those as well on the beautiful West Coast and in the mountains that are still living on this Sunday here as we do roll into the work week. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. If you are just tuning in, make sure you do check out the Hick at Night podcast feed, Night spelled N-I-T-E, available wherever you do get your pods. That is the quickest, easiest, best way to catch up on anything you may have missed, and you have missed if you're just tuning in a lot so far. We've broken down a ton of NFL draft stuff. We've talked about who the best quarterback in this draft class is going to be. We talked about the Shedeur slide. We talked about how much his father, Deion, is to blame for the Shedeur slide. We played a little game of Hall of Fame bust or NFL draft bust. It's been an action-packed show. Still a lot to go here in this next hour or so, but check it out on the Hick at Night podcast feed, Night spelled N-I-T-E, available wherever you do get your podcasts. So the biggest story of the NFL draft, the biggest story in sports this weekend was Shedeur Sanders falling to the 5th round of the NFL draft. The explanation I have as to why Shedeur fell to the 5th round is a very simple one. No NFL team wants a quarterback that's all about himself without an elite skill set. Look back at Colorado the last 2 years. It was the Deion and Shedeur show. What team wants to sign up and bring all of that to their locker room for a guy that projects to be like Geno Smith, an average quarterback? No team wants that, which is why I can't blame them for passing on Shedeur and having him drop to the 5th round. I think it's the right move. Think about it from this perspective. Let's equate this to dating. And let's say you were single out at a bar. And you look over on the other side of the bar, and there's a woman out there. If you're a guy here, and you look at her, she's like a 6 looks wise, right? It's pretty cute, fellas. Well, you know what? Yeah, you could do better, but boy, you could do way worse. It's okay. This girl's pretty cute. I'm gonna go over there and try to talk to her. So you go over there, you start talking to her, I think she's pretty cute, and all of a sudden, while she's a 6 looks wise, she carries herself like she's a 10. She's stuck up, tries to seem uninterested. She thinks her you know what don't stink. You're sitting there going, who the hell do you think you are? Talking to me like this, having an attitude like this. You're not hot enough to have this kind of attitude and thought. So a cute girl that you're interested in, all of a sudden you start talking to her, and her personality knocks her down a few pegs to where you're disinterested and going to try to talk to someone else. That, to me, is the simplest way to boil down what happened with Shedeur. On a quarterback scale, 1 to 10, Shedeur's like a 5.5. Talent-wise. Again, I think he's about average. I would say his best case is that he's Geno Smith 2.0. A quarterback that could, once in a while, lead you to the playoffs, but he's not a franchise guy, not a guy that can win you a Super Bowl. Again, you could do way worse than Geno Smith at quarterback. But the problem is, Shedeur carries himself like he's Patrick Mahomes. Like he has rings on his finger. Like he's done all these, great things already without doing anything. And so when you have an average skill set, but think you are the best quarterback in the NFL, that's going to knock you down to like a 3.5 out of 10. Your skill says you're a 5, but your attitude says you're about a 3.5. What team, what NFL team is drafting with a high premium pick a 3.5 quarterback out of 10? Nobody. Nobody is doing it. That is why I think the slide is warranted. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I saw it coming. I was shocked just like you were. But now you start to hear reports coming out. And I personally hate the draft season. Like, let's call it from the combine to basically Thursday night, that 2-3 month period. I hate it because every draft report, I have a tough time deciphering whether it's true or false. There's always an agenda to everything around this time of the year that's put out. So you don't know what is fact. You don't know what's exaggeration to try to impact a player's draft stock so that team can maybe benefit somehow, either getting the player that they want or maybe trying to convince a stupid team to take a player that they don't actually believe in. So it's hard to decipher, I think, in the moment, the reports you hear coming out of, the combine and pro days and such, what is real and what is not. But now that we have the benefit of hindsight, now that we have seen the draft and we see how teams have viewed players, now we can start to look back and say, okay, well, this report actually now was true. This makes sense. I want you to listen to this from Todd McShay and his show, The McShay Show, who said this right before the draft, day number 1. Right before round 1 started. He explained why Shedeur to the Giants at number 3, which was a thought and a lot of people bought into, said there's absolutely no way this is happening for this exact reason. Take a listen.
Shedeur's not in play at 3. Shedeur's not in play with the New York Giants, as far as I'm told. Shedeur didn't have a great interview with Brian Daboll in a private visit. An install package came in. Preparation wasn't there for it. Got called out on it. Didn't like that. Brian didn't appreciate him not liking it. I told you there were 2 personnel people that I spoke to who were in the room during interviews, which means they're key parts of the organization. Let's leave it at that. 2 teams drafting in the top 10 with quarterback needs where the interviews did not go well.
Is that someone you want? Is that when you hear that from Todd McShay? Is that someone you want your team drafting at the most important position in all of sports? A guy that doesn't take interviews seriously? A guy who's not studying plays given him by a coach that could possibly draft him? Going in unprepared? Getting mad when he gets called out for being unprepared? Is that truly? Is that what you want from your quarterback? I didn't think so. And that's why when you hear some of these stories that come out, I think the NFL is justified in passing on Shedeur. Because I think ultimately what it comes down to is this. At the end of the day, to boil it down as simple as possible, the NFL told Shedeur Sanders, you are not talented enough to conduct yourself the way you do. You are not good enough to warrant the headaches that you bring. You are not good enough to mail in an interview. You are not good enough to go to the interview unprepared. You are not good enough to try to dictate terms of an interview with a prospective team that could draft you. You are not good enough. Period. Stop. And that's why I have no problem with this slide. Because I agree. Again, if we're talking about Geno Smith, we're talking about an average quarterback. You are not good enough to make all these demands and carry yourself the way you do when your ceiling is to be just an average, maybe slightly above average quarterback. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, that's just one report, Ryan. Todd McShay, one guy, who cares? Okay, well, how about this? Let's go to Tom Pelissero, NFL Network. This was from Tom Pelissero on day 3 of the draft. We heard McShay before round number 1. Now let's go to Tom Pelissero Saturday morning after Shedeur's been passed up on day 1 and day 2. Hear his explanation as to why teams are saying no thank you to Shedeur.
Throughout the pre-draft process, Shedeur Sanders very much proceeded as if he was dictating to clubs where he was going to go rather than how the draft works, which is the other way around. And there were a bunch of opportunities missed at the various checkpoints through that pre-draft process. Go all the way back to All-Star season. Instead of going to the Senior Bowl, he went to the East-West Shrine Bowl in his backyard in Dallas. Despite an NFL memo saying if you go to these All-Star games, you have to practice, Shedeur chose not to. At the Combine, it is now well documented some of his formal interviews did not go well. One assistant coach told me in all his years it was the worst formal interview he'd ever been through. All of which is to say, for a player who had a variety of questions both about the talent level, how he would fit into an NFL system, how he would adjust from his play style in college, but also about the potential culture shock of for the first time playing for someone who is not his father. There were opportunities that Shedeur Sanders could have taken there. He seemed to feel as if he was in an elite category where he could choose the few teams he wanted to go to.
If you think the NFL was misguided, if you think teams made a grave mistake and passing on Shedeur, not drafting him in the first round, second round, third round, fourth round, what do you have to say now? What is your explanation? What is your defense as to why Shedeur got screwed? What is it now? Because pre-draft, right, these reports are out there. But again, I admit I have a tough time deciphering what's true and what's not. I have no idea. I'm not in these meetings. I have no sources. So it's a he said game. And I try to take every report with a grain of salt, good and bad, because, again, it's lying season. But a lot of these reports came out about Shedeur. And I kind of tend to agree, okay, he's a little arrogant. Maybe there's, some built-in bias or hatred there, so that maybe I'm not going to totally buy into these bad interview reports. Maybe there's, a little bit of exaggeration. Maybe they're just trying to, again, improve their own abilities to draft Shedeur. But when you see him not get drafted by the Giants, see the Saints say thanks but no thanks. You see the Browns, the first time drafted quarterback, and Dylan Gabriel over him. You see the Seahawks draft a different quarterback. You see the Giants trade up in round 1 to get a different quarterback. Like, you see the teams that the Raiders have ample opportunities to draft him, don't. Need a quarterback, didn't care. Had a connection between Tom Brady, didn't matter, didn't want him. Like, now when you start to hear these reports and look back on these reports about questions about Shedeur's preparedness and how he carries himself and the attitude and the arrogance that he has and the entitledness that he thinks he deserves to have in this process. And now you see those reports coupled with how teams actually viewed him in the draft and said, we're not going to take you. No, thanks. We're going to pass on him. How can you sit here and say that Shedeur got screwed? You can't. I think the NFL and 99% of their teams acted the right way in saying, we're good. I can't get mad. I agree. If I was a GM in the NFL, I wouldn't want Shedeur on my team. I would not want a backup quarterback or at best an average level quarterback coming in with this attitude and these distractions. I would not want it. What's the benefit? I don't see the benefit at all.
There is no benefit, honestly, because it's kind of crazy because before I even heard these interviews from Todd McShay and Tom Pelissero, the Giants were pretty high on you saw stuff with Brian Daboll, bumping into Shedeur, dapping him up, hugging him and stuff. You thought, okay, Brian Daboll's pretty high on Shedeur Sanders. He might draft him. I mean, when he didn't draft him at 3, I thought, okay, maybe they'll trade up. Then they did trade up and they didn't take him then.
Yep.
That's when I knew, okay, something had to have gone down in the process. And then hearing these interviews, he gave him a offensive playbook, and he wasn't answering the questions correctly. I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And Daboll was calling him out on hey, dude, I was thinking about drafting you, and you showed up to a meeting unprepared. Okay, now I'm not impressed with you anymore. You're I'm not interested anymore. And you're thinking to yourself wow, dude, you really screwed yourself out of being a first round pick, going to these meetings and making a fool of yourself.
Yeah, and even look at I think it's put yourself in put yourself in a GM's position here. I know a lot of you listening maybe own your own business, are boss in some capacity, right? Interview candidates for all sorts of different positions. Imagine you were conducting an interview and a kid right out of college who had one internship in his life comes in and tries to tell you how to run your business. You're going to hire me. Here's what I'm going to do for you. My role is going to be this. I'm going to only, do this, this, and this. And you're going to say yes, and this is my salary going to be. If you have an interview and the interviewee comes in with no resume, no actual industry success at all, and starts dictating terms to you, you're well, get out of here. You're not hiring the guy. It's the same thing here. It's the same thing. Shedeur's proven nothing at the NFL level, but again, he carried himself like he was Patrick Mahomes 2.0. Even I think this is telling. I think there's something here. Go look at the reaction video by Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, the Browns head coach and GM. They look like they were being held hostage on camera when the announcement came that they were drafting Shedeur Sanders. That was an owner-driven move. The GM and the head coach did not want Shedeur because I've never seen a reaction where you look happy and want somebody look that prisoner-like. So that even the team that drafted him, I don't think is truly enthralled to them. So when you look at Shedeur and his draft stock, I think he's going to be an average quarterback. I see Geno Smith 2.0. But you can't have Geno Smith on your roster and also bring the distractions that he brings along with him. Which is why I think the NFL was right in saying, we're good. We're going to pass on Shedeur. 888-710-4ISM. 888-710-4ISM. I have no problem. I think the NFL did the right thing here. Or I think most teams did the right thing in passing on Shedeur Sanders. Not taking a flyer on an average quarterback with a gigantic ego and massive personality. Do you think the NFL messed up? Do you think teams screwed up by not taking Shedeur earlier? 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. Also, you can tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3, or right in our YouTube chat. Check it out on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. Let's go to George calling from Arizona with some thoughts. What's up, George?
Hey, what's going on, Ryan Hickey?
How are you, man?
I like your show, man. I like your presentation. I like your style.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Hey, listen, I'll just get to the point and make it short because I know you got a lot of callers there, but there's a lot, I totally agree with everything you're saying, and I can only tell you what I see. Now, I've been to these little league games, the Mighty Mites, or where the kids play football.
Yep.
Parents meddle, man. It's not even about the football. You got these parents hollering, running, yelling at I can go on and on and on. In high school, I've seen it, and I'm sure I've seen a few things happen in college. And I'm going to tell you, and I don't know him personally, man, but Deion comes across as the king of meddling. Nobody wants to deal with that. Right. I guarantee you, man, that he was on the phone making calls, etc. He was more involved than he should have been when this draft was going on, and then this attitude that this young kid has, I think it's instigated by his father.
I agree.
I think his father wanted him to go to a certain place where he can start or whatever, and he's already doing his meddling, man. And you get this boy in there, you're going to have Deion in your ear all the time. More playing time. Wrong plays. Use him as this. Do that. I've coached him his whole life. I know better than you. That kind of thing, That's what I look at. That's what I see. Because I don't think that Shedeur would have those kind of attitudes or whatever. I think that he did that because he didn't want to play for the Giants. That's what I think.
I don't think so. I don't think he was trying to tank his draft stock. I appreciate the call, George, because we saw it backfire in terms of tanking all the way out of the first 2 days of the draft. I just think both Deion and Shedeur overestimated Shedeur's talent, thought he was better than he is, thought NFL teams thought he was better than he is, and reality smacked him in the face. They told you, we don't think you're that good. We don't think your talent warrants the attitude that you bring with you. And I agree. You hear those reports from Tom McShay. You hear the reports from Tom Pelissero. You heard numerous reports of the entire draft process about how this guy is not studying. He interviews horribly. He's trying to, basically think he's bigger than the NFL and dictate to teams the terms. That's not how this works. And if you don't understand that, while also not having an elite skill set, they're going to tell you, thanks, but no thanks. And I can't disagree. I totally agree. I would not want Shedeur on my team. I'm glad the Colts didn't draft him. Good luck to the Browns. I don't think he's long in Cleveland anyway. I think the Browns are going to draft their franchise quarterback in next year's draft when they were able to get a first-round pick from the Jaguars. They got 2 first-round picks going to next year. We'll see Shedeur on a different team in probably a year or two anyway. And I hope, for the sake of his career, he's got to humble himself. If not, he'll be Josh Rosen 2.0. We'll never be able to figure it out, never get on the field, and never make and be out of the league quicker than, you can blink. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. We'll continue to get your thoughts here. Did Shedeur Sanders get screwed? Or did the NFL, I think, judge correctly his draft stock and say he's not worth it? 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. You can tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on social media as well. Also, check out the chat on YouTube, Infinity Sports Network. When we return, we'll get your thoughts. And also, there is one thing that was terrible that happened to Shedeur, and it was the prank call he received by, now we found out, an assistant coach's son. We'll break that down when we do return. It is Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports that we're getting your thoughts here to start this hour on the draft stock of Shedeur Sanders. Was it right for him to drop in the draft, or did he get screwed? I think it was right. I think NFL teams evaluated him properly, which is a guy who's has an average skill set, but carries himself like he's a 10-time Super Bowl winner. And for all that, all the noise that he brings, his talent does not warrant the headaches that he provides and brings to any team that he goes to. Simple as that. The NFL overlooks a lot of BS. They will take on a lot if your talent is worth it. They told Shedeur, your talent is not worth it. And I can't argue that. If you can, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN, or you can tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3, like Scott did, who says, you need to really stop calling Shedeur average. Nobody thought Tom Brady was going to be anything other than a career backup. Also, every team put a boulder on his shoulder. He's going to be a franchise quarterback. Two things. Tom Brady's the outlier, okay? Like, Tom Brady is not happening in every single draft class. So, sure, it happened one time where a guy in the 6th round became the best quarterback of all time. Does that mean now he's the rule going forward? Hell to the no. You're talking about a 1 in a million shot with Tom Brady in terms of the success he had. We cannot be sitting here saying, oh, don't call Shedeur average because Tom Brady was great. No, Shedeur's average. That's my projection until he proves me wrong. That's what I'm going to say. The other thing is, put a boulder on his shoulder. I have no idea. We just heard reports from different reporters, Tom Pelissero, Todd McShay, who do this for a living, who told you meetings went poorly because of Shedeur's arrogance. He basically thought he was too good to prepare for the meetings. Why should I believe now dropping to round number 5 is going to all of a sudden put a chip on his shoulder? He put out a video, Shedeur, after round number 1 when he did not get drafted, where he said, we all know this should never have happened under any circumstance. I don't think he actually realizes why teams didn't draft him. I don't believe that he believes that he needs to improve. And so if you don't think you have a flaw in your game, if you don't think that, you actually need to be coached or prepare or study, then how am I supposed to believe that he's going to use this experience of dropping it to the 5th round as a positive experience for him? And you can't assume that either, because nothing he's done, nothing how he conducts himself should give you the reason to believe that he's a player with a chip on his shoulder. Baker Mayfield flourished off of doubts and proving people wrong. That's a guy who loves to play with a chip on his shoulder. I don't think Shedeur's built like that. And that's why I don't think I can sit here, Scott, and say that, Shedeur is now going to be better because he has this giant chip on his shoulder. I don't believe that to be the case. Again, he's got to prove it before I believe it. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. If you want to give your thoughts on why Shedeur, rightful or not, dropped in the draft. But before we get to your thoughts here, look, I've been critical of Shedeur. I don't think that he has conducted himself the right way. I don't think he's been given the best guidance. I don't think, again, his talent is anything that to write home about. With that said, what happened to him on Friday, I think was flat out cruel. Where, in case you missed it, he received a prank call that now we learned came from Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbricht's son, Jax, who got his number because Jeff Ulbricht's iPad was out around the house that had the contact information for every draft prospect, because the NFL gave draft prospects phones. So basically they could not get prank called with certain numbers that only NFL personnel knew. Well, Ulbricht's son, Jax, finds this, iPad, finds Shedeur's contact, writes it down, and then on Friday night, prank calls Shedeur, pretending to be Mickey Loomis, saying, hey, we're going to draft you right now, basically, welcome to the NFL, before saying, just kidding. So the audio's actually been released. Take a listen. This is the prank call Shedeur got on Friday. Remember, he wasn't drafted till the 5th round on Saturday. This is on Friday from now an assistant coach's son. Take a listen.
This is Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
How you doing?
Good, how are you, man?
Good, been waiting on you.
Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man.
No, for sure.
We're going to take you with our next pick right here, man.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Let's be legendary.
But you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, man.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
And then just hung up. And then the Saints, actually, that was the pick they ended up taking Tyler Shuck at 40th overall. That's just cruel. There's nothing to me funny about that. That is messed up. I don't know why you even think that'd be a funny idea to think about, let alone execute and actually do. And what's interesting is, because that side got a lot of attention, right? Because it was on video. The Sanders can't put it out there, and good for them to try to get to the bottom of it. It's now been reported by a few other outlets that multiple players have received prank calls over the last few days, including Tyler Warren, who was drafted by the Colts. It was reported that he received a prank call saying that he was about to get drafted number 7 overall by the Jets before they took Armand Membu out of Missouri. Now, there's been no confirmation yet that this prank call is also made by Jax Ulbrich. But put 2 and 2 together, I'm going to believe that a guy who had access to prospects' phone numbers that no one else had access to, if he made one prank call to Shedeur Sanders, I'm also assuming he's the one who made the prank call to Tyler Warren, and reportedly other players got prank calls as well over the last few days, saying that they're going to get drafted to a place that they did not get getting drafted to. Again, it's messed up. He put out a statement. I don't buy any of it. How about how sorry he is? He ruined the moment. It is cruel. It is messed up. The thing, though, that I find tough, because I've seen a few people online say this, that they were upset because there's no punishment coming down to either Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator for the Falcons, or his son Jax for actually executing this prank call. Now, there's no evidence that Jeff knew this was going on. By all reports, Jeff just left the iPad open, negligently, and his son happened to see it, but he had no idea that he was pulling off these prank calls. It's cruel. It's messed up. It's whatever adjective you want to use to talk about how unacceptable it is, feel free to use. With that said, I don't get how you could be mad that no one is getting punished here. Like, the Falcons basically said, hey, this is unfortunate. We apologize, but, we're not punishing Jeff Ulbrich for this. I don't know how you punish his son. Like, that's to me, like, the only punishment there is between father and son. If Jeff wants to and should punish Jack somehow, I don't know how. That's up to Jeff and his wife. How else can you punish him? Like, if Jeff truly had no idea, how can you punish him for a decision that his son made idiotically? He's a college kid. Like, let's not all pretend we were saints in college. We all made mistakes. We've all made mistakes that don't reflect our parents, right? We make bad judgment. Maybe it's a bad influence, whatever it may be. But that does not mean that our parents goaded us into it or raised us to make these decisions. So I saw a few people, including Matthew Berry, freaking out about how it's unacceptable that no punishment is being placed or being handed down from the NFL to either Jeff or his son. Like, what do you want them to do? He technically did not break any laws. It's not illegal to prank call somebody. It's messed up. It's cruel. But, how can the NFL punish a college kid? I have no idea.
Other than apologizing, there's not really much you can really do.
No.
Hey, listen, you got to apologize to Shedeur. Call him on a regular phone. Apologize to him. But you can't fine him. He didn't he didn't break the law. It's not like it was like.
But I actually like what you said. I think maybe they could force him to call Jax, the son, and the Falcons both put out a statement. I hope the son calls Shedeur, and now it's up to him to answer. I'm not sure, honestly. If I was him, Shedeur, that is, I don't know if I even want to answer that phone call, honestly. I thought he handled it very well in terms of not freaking out. I would have been pissed. I would have tried to find the kid and fight him, honestly. I'd be so mad that in this moment here, as everyone's clowning me for dropping, and I think, fine, okay, in round 2, I'm going to go somewhere that wants me, to get a prank call, get my hopes up, to have them dash immediately and try to be made a fool of, I would not handle that, I think, well. So I give Shedeur credit. I think he handles it really well in that situation. But, yeah, outside of actually calling to man-to-man apologize for your stupid idea and decision. Outside of that, I don't know how you can punish the son of a coach for making a decision that seemingly was all on his own. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. Let's quickly here go to Mr. Jones, calling from Atlanta. Hello, Sir Jones.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Good, buddy. What's on your mind, man?
Hey, so look, because with Shedeur, what happened to Shedeur was a travesty. Yes, he was hosed. And I'm going to give you these credentials that's going to prove why.
Sure.
How many quarterbacks have you known that have won the Johnny Unitas Award and was drafted in the 5th round? Well, let me just run off a little list of guys for
Let's
you.
do it.
Okay.
I got the list right here.
Mason Rudolph, Jaden Daniels, Kenny Pickett, Mac Jones, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Marcus Mariota, Andrew Luck. Just name a few. Okay.
Right, but you also skipped a few.
People said that
Mr.
he
Jones,
didn't
you
have any
skipped a few,
accomplishments.
including Max Duggan. Did not get drafted till later on. Gardner Minshew.
But he went the 3rd round, though,
did
right?
not
He went
get
the 3rd
drafted.
round, right?
I think Max Duggan was like 5th round. I got to double check. He was a later pick. Max Duggan. Oh, well, we just said that. I'm sorry. Later on. Gardner Minshew. Mason Rudolph was not a high pick. Connor Cook, Michigan State. You left him out. AJ McCarron left him out. Did not fit. Colin Klein out of Kansas State left him.
I didn't name all of them.
Winning the Johnny Unitas Award does not translate to being a great NFL quarterback. There are some good guys on this list. There are also some guys that got drafted in the area that Shedeur did. What'd you say?
Tim Tebow won the Heisman, and he was trash. We did a lot, like you said. That doesn't mean nothing. A lot of dudes won the Heisman. I remember you were saying something about Baker Mayfield, correct? Baker, the police drunk. Shedeur doesn't have any of those problems.
Right,
So
what did I
what
also say,
people were
Mr.
telling
Jones?
me-
What did I also say about that?
About who?
NFL teams.
About Baker?
NFL teams will overlook like shortcomings, attitude problems, arrests if the talent is worth it. They deem Baker Mayfield a Heisman Trophy winner and a guy who got Oklahoma to the playoff twice in his career as a guy whose talent was worth it. They look at Shedeur Sanders, who, you're right, has zero legal history, has done nothing wrong to anybody. And there's been some vile things done by NFL players that have gotten 2nd, 3rd, 4th chances. You're right about that aspect. He's done nothing. He's hurt nobody. But with that said, they did not see the talent equaling worth taking or dealing with the headaches. That's what it comes down to.
Also, you said Tom Brady. If they knew what they knew about Tom Brady, he wouldn't have felt like he did neither, correct? Joe Montana wasn't a top pick. He was a 3rd round pick. Who else? Not Jimmy Garoppolo, but my boy, Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft. So these so-called talent evaluators, if they knew what they knew or they knew what they say they knew, Lamar Jackson wouldn't have fell all the way down to the 32nd pick. You know what I'm saying? If people were so smart and they knew what they knew, you're trying to tell me that they traded capital away to draft Mitchell Trubisky over Alex Smith. Or
Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes.
Or Deshaun Watson.
Mr. Jones,
Exactly.
I agree in the sense of no one's perfect. These guys get it wrong all the time, both drafting busts at number 1 and drafting guys like Tom Brady and Brock Purdy in later rounds and have them hit. My point is this. You have to look at it. I'm looking at it from an NFL evaluator right now. You're saying this is the quarterback. Let's just take the name out for a second. This is his talent. This is the headaches. Is it worth it? The answer is no. I could be wrong, but right now I'd rather be on the wrong side of history and bet against them than bet with them right now.
So you're telling me a kid that came from a HBCU school, like they said, each year he got better. He ain't playing with kids that are at Alabama, who, you know what I mean, he's not playing like Jackson Dart. He's not playing in the SEC. True indeed, that goes both ways.
He had 3 receivers drafted, Mr. Jones, at Colorado. He had a lot of talent around. He had the best player in the draft with him, and Travis Hunter. What are you talking about? He had better talent than most SEC schools had.
No way,
what
bro.
Do you mean, no way.
Bro, he got hit the most times, but was the most accurate quarterback this year, correct? He threw for 40 touchdowns and 4,000 yards with a trash quarterback. So when you got to look at it like this, if you're evaluating talent, not trash quarterback, a trash offensive line. You know what I mean? Like Joe Burrow did. Remember Joe, when Joe took the Bengals to the Super Bowl with a trash offensive line? So this is what you look at when you're evaluating. You look at if he can do this with nothing. None of his wide receivers were drafted in the in the 1, 2, 3, third round neither, correct?
Travis Hunter, where'd he go?
Travis, exactly. Who threw him the ball? Somebody had to throw those immaculate passes to him. Both. They were like peanut butter and jelly. Look, somebody got to throw it. Somebody got to catch it. I got to be on the same page with my guy for us to have those connections. It don't work like that. And as a receiver, I need him. I need him to he didn't get me killed. He wasn't throwing Travis out there getting Travis killed. Those weren't bad balls. So you're telling me
I would disagree
if you're
with that.
drafting right now.
He's not throwing exactly the best ball. Mr. Jones, we're going to agree to disagree. I got to run here and appreciate the fun back and forth because we are very late to an update, and I apologize to Peter Schwartz here. We agree to disagree in this. You think the talent's worth it. You could be right. I don't think the talent's worth it. I think I'm right. We're going to find out here when he plays and see if he's actually worth it or not. But from this perspective, right now, it's an unknown and guessing projecting. I would agree with most NFL teams that projected his talent to not be worth the headache he brings. I agree with that evaluation. I could be wrong, just like most teams are wrong about NFL quarterbacks, both good and bad. I feel like I'm pretty right about this. I feel good about the side that I'm on, that the talent is not worth it. I'm not saying he's going to suck. I think he's average. My comp has been Geno Smith. You can get to the playoffs with Geno Smith. Once every 3-4 years. I think he can get to the playoffs with Shedeur once every 3 or 4 years if he's in the right system. But is he a franchise quarterback? Can he win you playoff games? Can he take you to a Super Bowl? Can he win you a Super Bowl? Which is why you draft a quarterback? I don't think so. I don't. 888-710-4ISN. It's Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll get your thoughts. We'll also give you some Sunday scares, including why one person, right? The draft is supposed to be, when you get drafted, the best day of your life. For one specific person, it was not. It was actually the worst day of their life. I'll tell you why when we do return after we get the sports update from Peter Schwartz.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
This report sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. NBA playoffs, Pacers over the Bucks, 129-103. Indiana up 3-1. Bucks star Damian Lillard left the game in the first quarter. Head coach Doc Rivers with an update after the game.
They're going to do an image tomorrow. Obviously, his lower leg. And just being honest, is not very promising. I knew it right away. Yeah. I feel bad for him. The guy tried to come back for his team, and I just feel bad for him.
The Bucks reportedly fear it's a torn Achilles. Elsewhere in the NBA playoffs, Celtics over the Magic 107-98. The Knicks beat the Pistons 94-93. T-Wolves over the Lakers 116-113. Stanley Cup playoffs, overtime in Edmonton.
McDavid, Perry got dumped in front of the net. McDavid to Draisaitl, right corner. Draisaitl to Nugent Hopkins, side of the net. McDavid in front of the goal, loose puck, scores! Leon Draisaitl! And the Oilers win it 4-3 in overtime, and they have tied this series at 2 games apiece.
Jack Michaels on Oilers Radio. Oilers over the Kings 4-3 in overtime. Other games in the Stanley Cup playoffs, Hurricanes 5, Devils 2. The Capitals over the Canadiens 5-2. The Blues beat the Jets 5-1. In the NFL, the Commanders reportedly reached an agreement to build a stadium on the side of RFK Stadium, where the franchise played from 1961 to 1996. Announcement is expected on Monday. Baseball in 10, Phillies over the Cubs 3-1. Yankees sweep the Blue Jays 11-2 and 5-1. Rays beat the Padres 4-2. Giants over the Rangers 3-2. In 10, A's beat the White Sox 3-2. The Dodgers over the Pirates 9-2. Diamondbacks beat the Braves 6-4. I'm Peter Schwartz.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Check out our new and improved website at infinitysportsnet.com. That's infinitysportsnet.com.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The weekend is winding down. Hey, Ryan, who's got the Sunday Scaries this week?
It is Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network. As a reminder, this portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam and just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. One more time. That is checkethos.com. So the draft is supposed to be the best day of every player's life. And for Kelvin Banks Jr., the tackle out of Texas, it was. Drafted 9th overall back on Thursday. A great night for him and his family. But it was the worst night for Kelvin Banks Jr.'s son. Who that kid was thrown around like a rag doll during the celebration. If you have not seen this video, you have to look it up. The son is the child, I should say. I'm not sure the gender, so I'm just going to keep it neutral. The child is no more than 3 months old. It is like a newborn. So the child is sitting in his mother's arms, who's next to Banks. And the head is like resting on his mom's bicep. But she's fired up because Kelvin Banks just got drafted. So she's clapping. And as she's clapping, the baby's head's going up and down because of her arm moving. This kid's getting thrown around like a rag doll, like he's a ship at sea during a hurricane. Toss left, toss right. His head just going, getting rocked back and forth. He got sick. Like he threw up because he got motion sickness because his head's getting jerked around left and right during the celebration. I mean, you talk about the earliest diagnosed case of CT ever. I think we just found it with that kid. Right there on national TV for all of us to see. Well, it was a great night for Kelvin Banks Jr. getting drafted. A horrible, horrible night for his son or daughter. Kelvin Banks Jr.'s child, they got the Sunday Scaries. Rough night for them. That'll do it for Sunday Scaries here. Show's running out, but I do want to hear some of your thoughts as we do end up here. Let's go to Mike in Illinois quick. What's up, Mike?
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for taking my call.
What's on your mind?
Hey, I've got an extreme position on this, but I just want to make my point real quick.
Sure.
I think that the son of the Atlanta Falcons DC, the Jacks prank caller, I think he should be kicked out of Ole Miss. Because what I feel is what he did is he stole information that did not belong to him and then used it for nefarious means. And I believe that Ole Miss somewhere has some sort of a conduct unbecoming clause in their student handbook or, anyways, that's my take
fair,
on it.
Mike. I guess what I was talking about and looking at it from, I just don't know from the NFL's perspective what they like. If you want to say that that's fair, that's well within Ole Miss is right, and you probably should look into it. There's just I don't see what the NFL actually like. That's an Ole Miss decision, not an NFL problem.
I'm just saying his dad's not going to be able to do anything to really punish him. I think that when it comes down to it, especially if what you said is true about he may be linked to others.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely confirmed, and I appreciate the call, Mike, confirmed cases of other players getting prank called. There's yet to be a connection so far. Those prank calls were made by Jax Ulbrich, but again, you put 2 and 2 together, I feel pretty confident saying Ulbrich also made these other prank calls. So we're going to see. Yeah, but I think it's very fair. That's absolutely on the table. Ole Miss wants to step in and say, you broke a rule. You did not conduct yourself the way we want our students to conduct themselves. You're out of here. I think it's well within their right. Well within their right to do, no doubt about it. Thank you to Jack Carty. Thank you to you for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, Hick At Nite podcast, I'm sorry we didn't get to you on the phones more. Tweet me, Ryan Hickey3. We could continue this conversation. Pat Boyle is up next. Have a great week.
You're in a 5-minute break.